Move through the day ahead, though there is the risk of a few showers and some thicker cloud across parts of Northern Ireland through this afternoon, and some low cloud still affecting northeastern parts of Scotland down into northeast England with a cold northeasterly breeze here. So it will keep temperatures down 11 to 13 degrees, but elsewhere plenty of sunshine, lifting temperatures to around 22, possibly 23 Celsius with light winds. UV levels will be high and pollen levels high to very high for most of us as well. Looking at the evening picture, northern and eastern Scotland rather cloudy, the risk of a little patchy rain, but further west plenty of sunshine. Sunny spells breaking through to end the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England as well, though grey along some eastern coasts, and elsewhere plenty of sunshine. Sunshine perhaps hazy by the end of the day across some western parts of England and Wales. And then overnight what we'll see is the low cloud across parts of the north and the east just sinking further southwards and westwards, moving inland, some higher cloud moving in from the west as well. So it generally means there'll be a mixture of clear spells and the risk of 1 or 2 showers coming into northwest Scotland as well overnight. So towns and cities holding up 4 or 5 degrees in places. Any prolonged clear spells, we could see a touch of frost once more. So a bit more of a mixed start to Sunday. Most of us will be dry. There will be some showery outbreaks of rain pushing eastwards across Scotland through the day. Elsewhere, we'll see some hazy spells of sunshine breaking through at times, and winds will generally stay light. And in that sunshine, temperatures lifting to around 20, 21 Celsius.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. You could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good afternoon, there you are. It's midday on Saturday the 25th of April and this is the weekend on GB News. Amazing packed show coming up, so you don't want to move a muscle. Now, is the Prime Minister toast? Basically, that's the basic question we're asking. Cabinet ministers are reportedly plotting his exit as allies of Angela Rayner demand Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood be sacked as the price of Angela's return. And meanwhile, the Home Secretary is reportedly considering negotiating with the Taliban to deport failed Afghan asylum seekers in a bid to persuade the public Labour can control those borders.
Order and control at our border is not a betrayal of Labour values. It is the necessary condition for a Labour government to achieve anything it hopes to.
Meanwhile, nationwide protests today over digital ID. Campaigners say it's becoming mandatory in all but name as new systems are rolled out. We'll be at the protests in Edinburgh and London live during the show. And shocking story on the front of your Daily Mirror today, dog attacks surge across Britain. Now more than 3 an hour as fears grow, owners are dodging that XL bully van. And there are key battles at the top and the bottom of the Premier League today. Thanks for this one. With a special focus on Tottenham's trip to Wolves and, West Ham, thank you, that's my team, hosting Everton. Aidan McGee will join us with all the gory details on that one. I'm Dawn Niesman. The weekend starts right here and now. So welcome to a Saturday, the weekend show with me. Thank you so much for your company. I am mostly here Charlie and Bethany, a great little team, weren't they? But they have each other to talk to. I'm on my own, so I'm relying on you to keep me company. Thank you. The director's going, oh, we're with you. It's Team Girl in the studio today. So just keep me company, won't you? gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved in all the conversations we are having. Whether you want to talk about the dog attacks, which is frightening, whether you want to talk about sport, big sporting weekend, obviously, or whether you want to talk about politics, which is huge. And no matter how we try and bury our heads in the sand, this is affecting every single one of us. Don't worry about that one, because you are, by the way, paying all their wages as well. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get in touch, or scan that QR code on your screens. Now let's get a wriggle on, shall we? Is Sir Keir Starmer toast, basically? Another week of turmoil. That's not even a question. That is a statement. We know that's going to happen. Reports suggest members of the Prime Minister's cabinet are holding private talks over who should ask him to step down following the Peter Mandelson scandal, the ongoing one. This comes ahead of his former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, appearing before the Foreign Affairs Committee next week, where he'll give evidence on Peter Mandelson's vetting process and deny being a bully. Be interesting to watch that one. Will he throw his boss under the bus like he was thrown under the bus? It's a lot of buses in politics at the moment, isn't there? Anyway, joining me now is political commentator Benedict Spence, who normally kind of makes sense of all this stuff. Benedict, good luck. OK, we know there's a meeting at Chequers going on at the moment. Keir Starmer is hunkered down there with a few allies that are still left. In theory, they're writing the King's speech, which we know is going to happen very soon. But, is it a planning meeting on how to survive?
I mean, the question that you posed at the top of the hour was, is the Prime Minister toast? And I'd say, yes, he's just not been extracted from the toaster yet. But, it's pretty much a done thing. But, you know, a survival strategy, the key thing here is, I suppose, who is it a survival strategy for? It's not for the Prime Minister, he can't survive. But I think we've reached that moment where enough backbenchers and frontbenchers actually have started to think to themselves, right, well, how damaging is this for us in general? Actually, like, how much is this going to impact the party overall? You've got to weigh that up against the local elections and the wave of inflation that's sort of heading down the track towards the country anyway. So picking the right moment to get rid of the Prime Minister, I think, is the key thing here. That is, I think, the survival strategy, just keeping him in place as a sort of a human shield, if you like, to soak up a little bit more of the pain that's coming. Because what they don't want, what they absolutely don't want, and I think that this is a large part of the reason why they're so hesitant in the first place, they don't want to appear like the Tories. They don't want to be starting the gun and opening the door to lots and lots of potential upheaval and future challenges, because the one thing that they promised and that Keir Starmer promised was a sense of stability, which the Tories didn't give. If they can't even give that, which, let's be clear, they are struggling to do, then people will justifiably look at them and go, so what are you for?
I mean, Benedict, I mean, this isn't even a political point. I mean, you know, the Labour Party came in promising transparent politics, clear politics, no sleaze, etc., etc. But we're now being led by a man with the growing body count on his watch. In less than 2 years, he's got rid of 2 cabinet secretaries, 2 chief of staff, 4 directors of communications and 6 permanent secretaries. And that's cost the taxpayer £1.5 million, by the way. You have to question how loyal somebody is, not just to his staff, but to the country, when he can treat his staff like that.
Well, both treat his staff like that on the one hand, and let's be clear, these are the staff members who are not necessarily sort of riven with scandal, because, of course, we've also seen him have to get rid of the ambassador to the United States because he is surrounded by scandal. And there's a series of other frontbenchers that have been lost as well, be it the transport secretary, be it the housing secretary, of course, who is currently trying to come back. Who was the other one, of course, the high-profile one? Oh, that's right. It was the anti-sleaze czar, the anti-corruption czar, who he had to lose because she was caught up in a corruption story overseas. So on the one hand, you've got lots of people being, you said, you know, earlier, didn't you, that there are lots of people being thrown under the bus. Well, let's use a different example. Let's say defenestrated, they're being thrown out of the window to save the Prime Minister's skin. And at the same time, they're being thrown out of the window to save the Prime Minister's skin because he has made such bad errors of judgment in appointing other people to high-profile positions.
It is the judgment issue. So today we've got the story, I think it's in the Times today, that Angela Rayner's price for a comeback is that the Prime Minister sacked Shabana Mahmood. I mean, obviously, this is the left and the right of the party. I mean, don't you think, Benedict, part of the Labour Party's problem at the moment is they have such a huge majority that there are so many different sides and different factions in that number of people. So you've got the right wanting Angela Rayner and possibly Andy Burnham. You've got, out. Then you've got the left sort of like, supporting Angela Rayner. I mean, it's very complicated as to who gets what.
It is. And I think it's a real problem, actually. For a start, trying to bring Angela Rayner back and then Angela Rayner is potentially sort of setting out terms, I think is very problematic. One, because Angela Rayner, she just isn't as popular as so many people in Westminster seem to think that she is. You talk to ordinary people and they say, well, Orange's got a lot to say about Orange. It's not so much that she's some sort of brilliant communicator, it's that she seems to be a bit of a self-promoter. And actually, a lot of working class people who Labour claim that she represents don't like that kind of thing. But if she's already setting out terms, and one of her terms is to get rid of the only Home Secretary in quite some time who is actually talking properly tough on immigration and illegal migration, which, let's be clear, is the hot topic issue. And she wants to get rid of that person because she doesn't like that approach. What does that say about the direction of the party? Actually, Starmer is potentially fighting to bring back somebody who was ousted because of scandal, who isn't in fact that popular, and whose first act is to undermine him by getting rid of somebody who's trying to make a tough decision. I mean, it's farcical.
Do you think, there is some talk today of a cabinet reshuffle. Do you think that's on the cards, Benedict?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was on the cards, but I think the problem is you really are then moving the deck chairs around whilst the Titanic sinks. It's, we all know that he's gone. We all know that nobody actually, put it this way, nobody would vote for him if the general election was happening tomorrow. And when I say nobody, of course, there are always going to be people that vote Labour regardless. But he is just a uniquely unpopular prime minister right now. And there is no vision. There is no overarching vision that he can sell the country, that he can say, OK, it's been bad, but stick with me because I've got a great plan. And trust me, guys, you're all going to love it. Because from day one, it has all been about, listen, I don't have that much of a vision, but what I can promise you is that I'll just make the things that currently don't work. And he's not fulfilled any of that thus far.
Bella, do you think he realises? Do you think he realises how unpopular he is, not just with some of his main ministers, but with the public?
I think he does realise, but I also think that he has worked too long and too hard throughout his life to get to this position. You know, this is the pinnacle. It doesn't get any better than this if your ambition has always been politics. And he's managed it. And I think that what he would say is, looking at the size of his majority, A, and looking at the relative caliber of challenges, B, I think I understand why it is that he would not resign and he would not walk, and he thinks he can ride this out. Many other scandals, I think he might have been able to ride out. Let's say he'd been going through the equivalent of Partygate. Actually, I think he might have been able to ride out a similar kind of thing. The problem is Mandelson, Epstein, allegations of, you know, child sex abuse. That's not the sort of thing you can come back. And of course, that is not Keir Starmer who's being accused of that. It's simply the judgment call. That many people saw this coming down the track and went, this doesn't look good. And he went ahead with it anyway. That's just a really bad indictment on his judgment.
And that judgment affects us all, especially in the Mandelson case, where there is a risk to national security. To override the vetting process, if that's what's happened, and said, you know, just get this man the job. A man that was running a consultancy that was looking after a company that was basically the Chinese government, which everybody knew.
Exactly. And there is, I think, not just the instability aspect of all of this, which, of course, you know, they said that they were going to get rid of. There is that element of sleaze, which also we had under the Tories. This idea that the Tories were not just incompetent, but that they were somehow corrupt, and that Labour would, at the very least, nip both of these things in the bud. And here we are, back in this position. And the worst thing is, of course, Mandelson had form on this sort of thing. As Diane Abbott herself said in the House of Commons, of all people, Diane Abbott pointing it out, saying, guys, it was not an unknown quantity that Peter Mandelson has interesting business dealings, interesting friendships with all kinds of people. We all know that the Prime Minister knew about this, because this was part of the reasoning we were all told why he had to be the ambassador to the United States, because he could operate in those kind of grey zones where everybody has to sort of slightly tread carefully and read between the lines. He was able to move in those circles. So let's be clear, when the Prime Minister then turns around and goes, oh, I had no idea, well, clearly he had some idea. Otherwise, there was no other justification for putting Mandelson in that position in the first place.
Yeah, it's frightening. All we want is a leader we can trust. Benedict Spence, thank you so much for being the voice of reason, as always. That was political commentator Benedict Spence there for you. OK, now, on the other big story of the week politically, there is growing concern from Falklands veterans and islanders themselves that leaked emails from the US government suggested Britain's claim to the territory could be reviewed. Now, Donald Trump is said to be considering the move in response to the UK not directly joining the Iran conflict. The Prime Minister has insisted British sovereignty isn't going to change, but as we've just been discussing, but with King Charles preparing for a major visit to the United States, could that steady the relationship? Joining us now is a defence editor at the Daily Telegraph, Con Coughlin. Con, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, is this just Donald Trump saying, you know, trying to bully us into sort of like, you know, getting a bit more involved in Iran? Or could there be a serious side to this?
Well, I think we need to take it seriously, because this document comes from the Pentagon. It doesn't come from the White House. So clearly there are people in the Pentagon thinking about the future of the Falkland Islands and thinking about their future strategic relationships in Latin America, particularly with Argentina. We know that Trump is very friendly with the current president of Argentina, Milei. So you can see that in strategic terms, from Washington's point of view, looking at this area afresh is something that they feel entitled to do. But you know, the bottom line is, you know, there is this principle of self-determination, which, you know, even the Trump administration will recognize. And the Falkland Islanders themselves, as we've seen in their response to this attack by Trump, are very determined to remain British. So, you know, And I think that the fact that King is going to the States this coming week will help to sort of steady the waters on this particular issue.
How well do you think the Prime Minister has responded to this? I mean, as soon as you mentioned giving away British territory and paying to give it away, by the way, you know, the Chagos Islands come up on that one. How do you think, Con, that the Prime Minister is dealing with this situation?
Well, I mean, it's a very easy one for him to handle because, you know, the whole British nation, I imagine, is behind the Falkland Islanders, particularly after the sacrifices the British military made back in 1982 to secure the freedom of the Falklanders. So, you know, for Starmer to say, you know, the Falklands will remain British is a no-brainer. But as you say, after his performance on the Chagos Islands, I think there will be some in the Falkland Islands that don't really take his word at face value and wonder if there are others within the Labour Party that will be thinking, well, you know, why do we need to hang on to this territory so many years after the Falklands War? But that will be the hard left of the party. But for the moment, it's fairly easy for Starmer to say, you know, back off, the Falkland Islands are ours. And also, I mean, Starmer's got so much else, as you were just discussing. I mean, he's got so much else on his plate. You know, he doesn't want to get involved in a row over the Falklands at the moment.
Con, could you see the Falklands the Argentinians trying to take the Falkland Islands back from us at the moment?
I don't think so. I think you know, it would cause so much trouble for them. But having said that, you know, militarily we are in a very poor position. I mean, everybody knows that we could not mount the kind of military operation we did in 1982 to recover the Falklands were the Argentines to cause trouble. I think at the moment we've got a squadron of Typhoons based there. That's about it. You know, our navy doesn't work. Has been well documented over our response to the Iran conflict, and the land forces have been reduced to the bare minimum. So, you know, we are not in a position to defend it. But I think again, the Argentines got better things to do. You know, they're rebuilding their own economy. They're rebuilding their own sort of interest in Latin America and with the US. And I don't think that this is particularly an issue they want to raise at this moment.
How well do you think it would go down in South America in general, though, if this was a ploy? I hadn't even thought about this, Con. If it was a ploy by America to strengthen their power in South America. I mean, you know, we know what's happened in Venezuela. We know Trump has maybe got his eye on other countries in the region as well. I mean, do you think that's really what's behind this, that Trump is genuinely looking to strengthen his power hold in South America?
Well, I think there's some truth in that, Dawn. I mean, let's not forget that most people in Latin America call the Falklands Las Malvinas. They regard Las Malvinas as being part of Latin America or being part of Argentina. Most Argentinians think that the Las Malvinas is part of their country. So, you know, Trump is pushing at an open door. And of course, the other point, which, as I said, you discussed just now in your previous item, is that, you know, Trump is getting very fed up with Starmer, particularly over his muddled response to the Iran conflict. I mean, I do get very tired when some commentators say that Starmer's had a good war. He's had a terrible war. He's been dithering about whether to let the Americans use bases or not. He can't work out the difference between offensive and defensive interests. He can't protect our own interests and our own allies, which is vital to the standing of the United Kingdom. He's been an absolute disaster. And that's the view of the Trump administration. And the Trump administration says, why bother with Britain while Starmer's in power? Why don't we just sort of cozy up to our new allies in Argentina and elsewhere, and expand our strategic reach in the continent? So, yeah, there's certainly some moving parts to what is going on over the Falklands.
Absolutely, very interesting points, Con. Thank you so much. I hadn't even thought of that. Very interesting indeed. That's Defence Editor at the Daily Telegraph, Con Cochran. Thank you very much, Con, for joining us on that one. As always, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. I hadn't even thought of that Trump trying to strengthen his power in South America. Great point. In any case, it is time for the Great British Giveaway, and it's the final week to see how you could win that brand new 4-berth camper van and £25,000 in tax-free cash. All in time for the summer holidays. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? Here's how you do it.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. Just in time for summer, you could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year, as it comes complete with all of the features you'd expect of a vehicle worth over £67,000. A built-in kitchen and bathroom, dedicated living areas, and panoramic opening rear doors. Plus, you can drive it on your existing licence. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. That would be a lovely summer treat for you, wouldn't it? OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Now, there's lots coming up on today's show, including the real horror story this week. Serious questions over women's safety after those 3 small boat migrants were found guilty of raping a woman in the most vilest possible way. The details are just horrendous on Brighton Beach, 3 months after 2 of them got off one of those small boats. So we're asking, how protected are women and girls in Britain today? All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And you rightly said, when I was leaving Ghana for United Kingdom, I thought we got Christianity through British being our colonial masters. So I thought, having come to a place that the gospel came from, it would be all godliness. But slowly things are changing. I mean, people can choose to do whatever they want, but the level of impunity, the punity that people act with, knowing that you call the authority, they will not help you. And it's like they do it with no ramifications. So what is the need for them to stop attacking the church? And you look around, we say we live in a civil society. We are not against that because we have to serve the people.
Daniel, do you feel that Christianity in Britain has come under more and more attack? Do you feel that it's something has changed? I was looking into this earlier, and hundreds of churches every year are facing vandalism, but we don't hear much from the government about it. We don't hear outrage when we hear of mosques being attacked. We do hear politicians talking about it. We hear the same for synagogues and other religious groups, but not so much for Christianity. Have we forgotten to talk about Christians coming under attack and the Christian faith coming under attack?
Oh, that is the feeling I got, because before I contacted GB News, I had reached out to some of the major outlets, and I do not know whether I have right to mention them, but all my plea were ignored. And some of it was so classic that they had featured an attack on another religion, and then they say, if you have been affected, contact us through this means, and I will do that. Nothing and no one will respond. So definitely I feel Christianity is being subtly marginalized, and there is no intervention whatsoever.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. And thank you all so much for getting in touch, especially all of you out in the garden at the moment. Some of you are having a nice scotch by your pool. That sounds lovely. And some of you are mowing the lawn. But do remember that we are on the radio. So you are heading out into the sunshine. You can take us with you. And there is literally no escape from me this afternoon. Sorry about that. But I do want you to stay with me now because this story, again, it affects every single one of us. Because if you're not a woman or girl, you will love a woman or girl at some point in your life. And it is the horrendous story of those 3 asylum seekers who came to Britain via, 2 came via a small boat, been found guilty of committing a gang rape on Brighton Beach. The men were living at a Home Office hotel near Horsham at the time of the offence. All 3 had been refused their asylum seeker applications, according to the prosecution, so they were basically here illegally. The case has raised fresh questions about public safety, policing and how women are being protected in our towns and cities. I cannot tell you how much this story means to me, it really does. So now let's talk to the chair of Women's Policy Centre, Paola Diana. Paola, thank you so much for joining us today. I love talking to you, you talk so much sense, but it's always about a horrific story like this. It's a story we keep talking about, but it keeps happening. Are women and girls at risk more than ever now?
Yes, they are. And you know what, Dawn? I'm not surprised of what happened. This is completely, I mean, everyone knows it will happen because open borders means less safety for women and girls living in the United Kingdom. And this is a direct problem of this government that is keeping these illegal migrants, who are mainly young men, coming from countries where they disregard women's rights, where they treat women like subhumans, like in Afghanistan, where they rape women and children. And this government, this prime minister, are keeping these violent men in the country. So it's totally predictable what is happening. And my heart is broken when I think about the victims, but we must do something. They have to stop calling people like us who show what reality is. They call us racist because they want to cancel us. They want to silence us. At the Women's Policy Centre, we are now studying the pattern of domestic abuse, violence against women and children happening in the countries of origin of these migrants. We know they come mainly from Iran, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Somalia, Iran, Pakistan, Bangladesh. And we know for certainty that in those countries, this pattern is really high. There is a direct connection with the young men committing these atrocities. And there is the same pattern in our country. It means that when these men arrive in our country, they cannot integrate magically in one night. They don't want to integrate. So it's up to us to defend women and girls, to stop the boats, detain these illegal migrants, don't let them go around in our streets, and then send them back where they're coming from.
And Paola, one of the most distressing quotes that came from this particular court case, I mean, it was it was just a horror show from start to finish. But one of the rapists said that to him, rape was sex. I mean, there was no difference. I mean, consent did not exist in his world. How do we deal with men like that?
Yeah, no, you can't integrate them. I'm sorry, you can't. It's like letting millions of wolves coming into a countryside where it's full of sheep. They will eat them all. They will kill them all. This is predictable. This is data. This is political science. It's sociology. We are living now in a dystopian world where the radical left still believes in the ideology of multiculturalism. That is a radical ideology, and it's a dangerous ideology that is harming mainly women, girls, and children. This has to stop.
Why is the government letting it happen?
Well, because we know they believe in this ideology of multiculturalism that is typical of the left. And also there is another factor here, and I'm very sad to highlight this, but this is the reality now, I'm afraid. They are looking for votes. They know that these people coming into the country are going to vote for them. They're so desperate because they know the British people now are rising, they're awakening to this dystopian world, and they're voting for other parties that don't want open borders. And that's why they're flooding our country with these migrants. But it is very dangerous. It's a dangerous game, and it's a power game. We don't want them to succeed.
And Paola, what would you say to the argument, because it always comes up when we have these debates, well, there are men in this country that are rapists, that abuse women, we have a horrific situation with domestic violence in this country. It's not just migrants that we're talking about here. Why are you concentrating on the migrants? That makes you racist. That's the counter-argument to this.
Yeah, that's such a naive counter-argument, and it's not factual, it's not true. So first of all, yes, we have this type of behavior, and that's why we are going after these men already living in this country. We don't care if they're white, brown, or black, of course. Whatever crime you commit, you have to be accountable for that and go to prison. But that's not the case, because the culture in this country is a centuries, millennia-old culture coming from Christian Judeo values. And women's rights have come from this specific culture, not from other cultures. We are in 2026, and we have many, many countries outside the West where they consider women like half humans. So we should start asking ourselves, why is that? That not all countries in 2026 are at the same level with women's rights. Why not all countries give women the same rights as men? Well, there are many factors around. And the first factor is religion, is class, economics, traditions. They're so difficult and entrenched in one man's psyche. So you cannot think naively to change a man the day he comes to our shores. It's impossible. It's impossible. They won't change, and they come here to prey on our women and girls. We must stop them.
Paola, thank you so much. As always, you talk so much. For me, you talk so much sense. It's a situation we do need to talk about, and we should not be afraid of being called racist because we are worried about our safety. And I interviewed Rhiannon White's mum, who was murdered by a small boat migrant who was 3 months off the boat, like the pieces of filth involved in this. Anyways, Paola, thank you so much, as always. Please do keep up the good work. That's Chair of Women's Policy Centre, Paola Diana there. As always, please do let me know what you think about that one. gbnews.com/your say. Now, there is lots more. It's coming up to 12:30 already. My gosh, already. There is lots more coming up on today's show. I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News. But first, let's get the news headlines with the wonderful Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 32 minutes past 12. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are heading to Pakistan for negotiations on how to end the war in Iran. Iran's foreign minister is already in the capital, Islamabad, but it's reported he won't be holding any direct talks with the US. Downing Street insists the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands is not in question. It comes as Argentina is calling for negotiations over the territory to reopen after a leaked report revealed the US could review its position. 2 young children have died in a house fire in Wolverhampton last night. West Midlands police say they were rescued from the burning building but were pronounced dead at the scene. The family of Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent victims, are holding a memorial service in Washington, D.C. to mark 1 year since her death. It comes ahead of King Charles's state visit next week. They're calling on him to meet with them and other survivors. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you at 1 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Bethany. And remember, do let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today. So many already getting in touch with the interview we've just done about the safety of women and girls in this country. Wendy has just said what many of you are agreeing with. She says, Dawn, until every illegal migrant is rounded up and put into guarded encampments with no freedom of movement, until their asylum is sorted, and they are deported if they fail. They failed their asylum, these lads, remember. There'll be more and more cases like this. Those who allow this to continue are complicit in the violation are as complicit in the violation of women as the perpetrators are. And Wendy, it breaks my heart, but I'm going to have to say I agree with you. I really do feel that the safety of women and girls is taking a back seat to so many other things, and it really should be our priority. gbnews.com/your say. Join in the conversation about any subject you want Saturday afternoon. Many of you in your gardens are having a nice time, so have a drink on me, won't you, that one? OK, now there's lots more coming up on today's show. A dog attack surge across Britain now. More than 3 an hour. As fears grow, owners are dodging that XL woolly ban. Remember when that came in? All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We'll see you very soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. High pressure still holding on, giving plenty of sunshine, though it was a bit of a foggy start in places, and there will be some low cloud, particularly across the northeast, but high pressure extending across the UK, keeping weather fronts away from much of the UK, leading to plenty of sunshine as we move through the day ahead, though there is the risk of a few showers and some thicker cloud across parts of Northern Ireland through this afternoon, and some low cloud still affecting northeastern parts of Scotland down into northeast England with a cold northeasterly breeze here, so it will keep temperatures down 11 to 13 degrees, but elsewhere plenty of sunshine, lifting temperatures to around 22, possibly 23 Celsius with light winds. UV levels will be high and pollen levels high to very high for most of us as well. Looking at the evening picture, northern and eastern Scotland rather cloudy, the risk of a little patchy rain, but further west plenty of sunshine. Sunny spells breaking through to end the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England as well, though grey along some eastern coasts. And elsewhere plenty of sunshine. Sunshine perhaps hazy by the end of the day across some western parts of England and Wales. And then overnight what we'll see is the low cloud across parts of the north and the east just sinking further southwards and westwards, moving inland, some higher cloud moving in from the west as well. So it generally means there'll be a mixture of clear spells and the risk of 1 or 2 showers coming into northwest Scotland as well overnight. So towns and cities holding up 4 or 5 degrees in places. Any prolonged clear spells, we could see a touch of frost once more. So a bit more of a mixed start to Sunday. Most of us will be dry. There will be some showery outbreaks of rain pushing eastwards across Scotland through the day. Elsewhere, we'll see some hazy spells of sunshine breaking through at times, and winds will generally stay light. And in that sunshine, temperatures lifting to around 20-21 Celsius.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Just want to say quickly, thank you so much for your comments on the subject we were talking about earlier on that horrific rape, the Brighton in Brighton with those illegal migrants. And Peter said that lady we were interviewing, Paola, who runs women's charity, saying that lady's amazing, what sense she is talking, and so eloquently. Bravo. And lots of you agreeing with that as well. And I have to say, Peter, I do. Please keep them coming in, won't you? Now we're going to move on, though. A study by the Daily Mirror today has found that the number of dog attacks in the UK has almost doubled since the pandemic. It found that over 3 occur every single hour on our streets and in our homes. Quite astonishing statistics here. Joining me now is a dog therapist and trainer, Dilly Williamson. Dilly, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Dilly, front page of the Mirror today, actually really, really frightening. And we know there's a baby girl that was killed recently by our, not an XL bully, but the new miniature versions of XL bullies, if that makes sense. What do you think is going on here?
I don't think there's any one reason for this. I think it's a collection of things, and I think it's all been highlighted. Attacks have been going on for years, from dogs to humans and dogs to dogs. So I don't think there's any one thing going on, but I think the restriction of certain breeds have definitely made a certain breed worse. So muzzling and being on the lead and not allowed to have suitable exercise, it's just very frustrating to any dog, and especially breeds that are high muscular mass. They need to be properly exercised, which it's impossible to do now.
And this attack we're talking about, the latest one, is by an XL bully mini. Can you explain what that actually is? Because most of us think, well, XL bullies are banned, that's the end of this story, but it's not. They're breeding them smaller now to get around the rules?
There's so many ways to get around the rules. An XL bully can be crossed with practically anything, a poodle, a chihuahua, and it still has the attributes of the main breed or the strongest part of that DNA. So, you know, there's ways around all of these things, and it doesn't solve the problem at all. So if that XL bully, you could cross an XL bully with a chihuahua or a poodle, and it might look just like an XL bully, but a lot smaller. So it just depends on what the demand is. Breeders are making what people want, and I think that's where the problem lies. The accessibility of certain breeds, and these breeds are given to people that are not qualified or have no idea on how to deal with them, is where the problem lies, in my opinion.
So, I mean, Dilly, whenever we have this conversation in the past, people go, it's not the animals, it's the owners. Is that something you would agree with?
Of course it's not the animals. The animal's just a born being thing. It's the handling of the animals. Of course it's not the car, it's the driver. Of course it's got nothing to do with the animal. You create an animal and you put it in an environment which is not conducive to that animal, you're going to have some kind of an explosion.
So how do we deal with it? What do we do? I mean, you know, we've tried banning certain breeds. As you say, that quite clearly isn't working. So, I mean, what do we do? Do we bring back dog licenses? Do we sort of like ensure people that are owning dogs have passed some sort of test? How do we get around it?
So I think the first thing to do is to monitor the breeding of these animals, or literally stop it for a period of time. And then it's all down to education. The education of the owner, and it's not just the bull breeds. These poor dogs are getting such bad press. It could be a Labrador, you know, it could be a cockapoo. I see cockapoos all the time that are really, really aggressive. Because of what? Because of interbreeding, because of blah, blah, blah. So it's, you know, it's so unfair to say it's the bull breeds. It's not going to work. So the first thing to do is educate the new potential owners, educate the breeders, have some kind of licensing going on, and make sure people know what they're doing and are in the right environment to have a dog, never mind a bull breed, but a dog. People are buying dogs for all the wrong reasons, and I think that's why, since the pandemic, these things seem to have got worse. But it's just because people have demanded more and are less qualified in how to deal with things.
Dilly, we have so many complaints in this country about the government micromanaging our lives as it is. I mean, how are you going to enforce people to sort of like, you know, have the training and make sure they get a licence and things like that to be a dog owner? It's just not going to work, is it?
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult, but there has to be penalties involved, probably. We've got enough penalties for everything else. We should have penalties involved if you're going to be the owner of an animal that is potentially dangerous. And again, I'm not going to say that breed, any animal, for animal cruelty reasons, for the safety of others, dog-to-dog aggression, dog-to-human aggression. There's got to be penalties. If you don't abide by the rules, then you have to be penalised.
And we don't. Going back to the conversation we were having earlier on, we don't have enough law and order in this country to prevent rapes and things like that. So actually cracking down on this is going to be even more difficult.
Yeah, I don't see a solution in the near future. But if people want to be responsible, and if they don't want their animals to be put down, if they don't want their animals to hurt people and they want to enjoy their animals, then go and get educated on how to look after them.
OK. And Dilly, just quickly, and any advice now for people who are thinking about getting a dog?
Think about the breed specific. Think about what that dog is bred for. Don't think about the colour. Don't think about it matches your furniture. Think about, can you cope with the exercising? Have you got the right facilities? Have you got the right backup if you need to be sick or on holiday? All those things you have to take into consideration.
Dilly, thank you so much. Words of good advice and common sense. So that's a dog therapist and a trainer, Dilly Williamson there. Thank you so much. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News coming up. It's a huge weekend of sport in general, but certainly football. And thank you very much, folk behind me, for mentioning West Ham again. Yeah, West Ham and Spurs battling it out for the Premier League safety. And we'll get the latest on all the sport that's happening this week then, including the FA Cup semi-finals, obviously, with Aidan McGee.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
A big talking point across southern Europe at the moment is just how warm it is for the time of year across parts of Portugal, Spain and France. We do have some showers affecting the Canary Islands, but it's the showers with that heat in Iberia that are turning heavy and thundery, starting to ease as we go through tomorrow and into next week. Dry for many parts around the central Med, with the showery rain affecting Greece at the moment, clearing away towards the east. And there's more fine, dry, warm weather to come for many as we go into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. We're going to talk about football. So if I start crying, you'll understand why. But it's Aidan McGee is in the house and he's got all the stories about all the sport for this weekend. Aidan.
You want some good news, don't you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no, well, the game's haven't started yet, so everyone's 0-0. How's that?
Brilliant, I love it, thank you very much, but we need 3 points, not just one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, probably a week ago, we were saying that this relegation battle was 4-1. For my money, I think it's 2-1 now. We saw Leeds pull away with that fabulous win at Old Trafford, and then they backed it up as well with a win over Wolves, which Tottenham had to win again. Forest right again. I mean, look, talk about coming good right at just at the right time, because not only did they win 5-0 at Sunderland last night, they won away to Spurs 3-0. They beat Burnley 4-1. And proving really that they're a much better side than their league position suggested. They were kind of bedraggled by European form this season. Yeah. Well done to them, because they showed last season that they were a good side. Absolutely. They just about missed out on the Champions League, didn't they? And got into the Europa League via the backdoor route. But today, Tottenham need a result going to Wolves. If they don't win that, then quite frankly, they don't deserve to stay up. And Wolves are not as bad as their points total suggests. They've shown a bit of a resurgence just recently, and your boys need a favour from them today, because I think your game is very difficult today at home to Everton. You've got David Moyes coming back there, of course. And, I mean, I'll tell you what was the great story I thought of yesterday was De Zerbi saying that he's been showing his players YouTube videos of when they were successful. Now, the interesting thing was, it made me laugh, some of them were videos of before they joined Spurs. Oops. But let's have a listen to Roberto De Zerbi now. This is him speaking ahead of that match today.
Important game for us, for sure, but we have to be able to play not too much pressure. And my work from now until tomorrow is to prepare the game of my best, to prepare in the best way, but to play a game, to play football, because these players are very good players.
That's Roberto De Zerbi then. Must shine a light, Dawn, on one of the traditional appetisers for the season. Well, appetiser, I say appetiser for the FA Cup. The FA Cup has been switched back to 3 o'clock this year, the FA Cup final. Oh, right, so that's nice, isn't it? Remember when we used to get all our stuff, get all our food, place our bets, buy our tabloid newspapers and sort of read at home about all the, even people who weren't that interested in football would look at the FA Cup final.
It was just a great football experience, and now it's like...
Well, it's back at 3 o'clock. It was 5:30 last year, and today Manchester City plays Southampton later on today. I've seen loads of Saints fans out on the platform at Paddington Station. They're making a big day of it. I even went up to one of them. I'm an expert on football kits, and they're wearing all the retro shirts. I went up to this bloke and I said, away kit 93 to 95. He thought I was a complete weirdo and was grateful
that happens a lot when people do that to you, Aidan. Just
anyway, I think he was grateful that I scampered away and got on my tube. And we must mention Millwall as well. They went into second place last night by getting a late draw at relegated Leicester. Leicester once again showing that they are probably better than the sum of their parts, because they've been relegated already 10 years ago, I think, this weekend.
It's 10
since
years,
they won
exactly.
Since they won the Premier League. I would argue though that Spurs getting relegated would be almost as big a story as Leicester going down, because don't forget, it would cost Tottenham £200 million. That's the estimated cost anyway of them getting relegated, with the revenue, TV revenue, etc. I don't think it would matter with the gate receipts, because I think season tickets would probably stay the same price, but the wage bill stays high because some of those players won't go. If you're trying to sell failing players on big money, then who's going to take him? You end up being saddled with them.
But you do get the parachute payment, so you do get some support.
You do. Is that, you say support, but it was interesting. They put in for the COVID payments, didn't they? The furlough a few years ago, but they didn't get that. They reversed that after all. Arsenal today, we should touch on them, because it's neck and neck at the top between them and Manchester City, who we mentioned are in action at Wembley later on. But Arsenal face Newcastle early evening kickoff, and I think they really have to get a result there, because if they miss out on that, even if they drop points, I think that'll be them done in terms of the title race. And they've been pretty consistent most of the season. It'd be a shame it didn't at least go on for a few more weeks. But as I say, same points, same goal difference. City are top at the moment by virtue of goals scored. So Arsenal facing Newcastle. Newcastle not in top form recently. Lots of in a period of flux really, just because I think that there have been question marks for the first time really around Eddie Howe's future, and it might be a time after 5 years there for him to move on this summer, and who knows who takes over. Maybe they might go for Thomas Tuchel, depending on what happens with him with the England job, of course.
Well, okay, exactly. It is an exciting season,
yes,
to be fair. The top of the Premiership, the bottom,
This time last year, the top and bottom was pretty much done and dusted. I was struggling for things to talk about.
Yeah.
And now you can't say that.
That never happens, Aidan. That really never happens. Aidan McGee, thank you.
And I'm off to QPR v Derby this afternoon.
are.
Last home game of the season, and the QPR goalkeeper is coming to have dinner with me before the game.
Oh, wow. Oh, I've got a story about West Ham's goalkeeper, but I can't say it live on air. I'll tell you later. Aidan McGee, thank you so much. Enjoy your match.
Cheers.
I really hope to enjoy mine as well. I'm going to try and get there. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GBNews. There's lots more coming up on today's show, so don't move a muscle. And we won't be talking about football anymore, will we, Aidan?
Maybe.
No, just stop.
Tomorrow.
Thanks very much. OK. Look, don't go too far. I'm back after the weather. Here it is.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Plenty of sunny spells, continuing to be largely dry over the next 24 hours through the rest of the weekend, though generally a bit more cloud around, some weather fronts near the northwest of the UK giving a few splashes of rain, but generally high pressure holding on as we move through the rest of the weekend. Some showers across western parts of Scotland, thicker cloud across northern and eastern Scotland into the evening may just produce 1 or 2 spots of rain. But as we head overnight, it'll be largely dry, some low cloud and fog affecting eastern parts of the UK once more, perhaps not quite as thick as last night. Under the cloud, temperatures falling to around 4 or 5 degrees in places, but any clear spells in the countryside, a touch of frost is possible. So it'll be a bit of a mixed start to Sunday morning. The risk of some showery rain across parts of the Highlands and the islands, but further south and east across Scotland, a dry start with some sunny spells, though some fog patches and low cloud in places too. A mixture of cloud and a few splashes of rain for Northern Ireland, perhaps Northern England as well. A grey start across some eastern parts of England, foggy in places too. Elsewhere, some hazy spells of sunshine. And as we go through the day, I think overall the picture won't change too much. Low cloud across the east should burn back to the North Sea coast. And then there'll be hazy spells of sunshine for the vast majority. So it might not be quite as blue the sky out there on a Sunday compared to today, and further splashes of rain pushing eastwards across northern parts of Scotland. Temperatures overall still well above average for the time of year for most of us, up to around 21 or 22 Celsius. Just still cool where we see some low cloud lingering. We'll also see those showers continuing to move through as we move into the evening on Sunday. And then high pressure looks like it generally stays in charge. Perhaps 1 or 2 showers around on Monday, but temperatures staying well above average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. You could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tamta, thank you not only for joining us, but for bringing examples of your amazing work, because I think the easiest way for you to describe what you do, because I read that you value things not for how they look, but for the messages they give and the stories that they tell. So tell me about what you do with silk and how you get those stories across.
Well, it's very important, first of all, to say hello.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here again. And what's important for me to mention that I really challenge the status quo of luxury. I really believe that luxury is no longer of owning a product, but what emotional resonance it gives you. And that was the heart of Quintet. With our creations, you have no limits to what you can include in your artworks. Your dreams can truly come true here, so maybe I can show you one of the arts that we had ordered for Paul.
Who is Paul? What does Paul do? I mean, well, Paul clearly plays chess. He flies a lot. Can we see? I don't know if we can actually see this, if we can hold it up.
Yes, sure.
He's got a motorbike. He travels. He likes to drink. And as I say, he plays chess and he travels.
He likes Newcastle United as well. He likes, I think, Art Deco style period. That's why the fonts we chose. He likes red wine, and I think actually the motorbike, it's his dream. So your dreams can truly come true on these pieces. This is actually pocket square bandana, so it can be worn for men, it can be framed. What's beautiful about our creations that we can actually, many people frame them.
Yes.
And there is no monument in the world that we have drawn yet. Everything we have drawn, and every breed of the animal.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, it's 1 o'clock on Saturday the 25th of April, and this is the weekend on GB News. Huge hour coming up. Is the Prime Minister on the brink, or toast as I like to call it? Cabinet ministers are reportedly plotting his exit as allies of Angela Rayner demand Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood be sacked as a price for her return. Labour infighting intensifies once again as support for Keir Starmer appears to be collapsing. Meanwhile, the Home Secretary is reportedly considering negotiating with the Taliban to deport failed Afghan asylum seekers in a bid to persuade the public Labour can control our borders.
Ordering control at our border is not a betrayal of Labour values. It is the necessary condition for a Labour government to achieve anything it hopes to.
Meanwhile, a nationwide protest today over digital ID. Campaigners say it's becoming mandatory in all but name as new systems begin to roll out.
Well, Keir Starmer has already U-turned once on digital ID, but Together Declaration says the fight is not yet over. They say that it will be used for children, company executives and veterans, so is organising 4 protests in the UK's 4 capitals this afternoon.
Here in Trafalgar Square, we're expecting thousands to gather to protest to scrap digital ID. Shortly, we'll be hearing from organisers about what the day has in store.
Yes, indeed. And meanwhile, the Prime Minister moves to ban Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps as fears grow over Tehran-linked attacks on British streets. And in other depressing news, Greggs goes fortress, scrapping self-service and putting food behind the counter as shoplifting spirals. Will more high street stores be forced to lock everything behind glass? What is wrong with the country? I'm Dawn Neeson and this is The Weekend. What is going on in this country anymore, which is probably not a bad thing considering it seems to be a complete basket case. But shoplifting, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, right, I've said this before, but when I was a kid, if I so much as even thought about, you know, Mark's, Woolies sort of like pick and mix counter to help myself to sweet, I'd got a clip round the ear and sort of like, you know, and be told to apologise to the shopkeeper. Now people just think nothing of strolling in and helping themselves to whatever they fancy. And who pays the cost? Yeah, it's the honest, abiding people that are sort of like paying for the stuff they want. I mean, that's old-fashioned now, isn't it? What on earth is going on? Well, hopefully we'll find out a bit more about that. But the fact now that Greggs have got to lock their sausage rolls away, I mean, it's just insane. Let me know what you think about that one. I'm getting all irritated about that one. gbnews.com/yoursay or scan the QR code on your screen. And yeah, let's get in touch about anything you want to talk about, to be honest with you. And lots of you are saying it's such a lovely day. You're in your gardens and you've got us on the radio. And some of you got the telly out in the garden as well, which sounds wonderful. So if you're having a nice cold drink in the garden, in the sun, have one for me, won't you? But do remember to get in touch, gbnews.com/yoursay. Let me know what you're up to. I like chatting about that, or also about any of the stories we are discussing today. All of that coming up after the latest news headlines with, we just can't get rid of her. She's always in the studio, Bethany Elsey.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 1:03. The US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are heading to Pakistan for discussions on ways to end the war in Iran. Iran's foreign minister is already in the capital, Islamabad, but it's reported he won't be holding any direct talks with the US. Iran also refused to attend a second round of planned peace talks in Pakistan this week, blaming America's continued blockade in the Strait of Hormuz and accusing Donald Trump of having excessive demands. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, 6 people were killed and 2 more wounded in Israeli strikes yesterday. Israel's military says it targeted positions used by Hezbollah. The attacks come despite a 3-week ceasefire extension announced by the president on Thursday. Argentina says it wants to reopen negotiations with the UK over the Falkland Islands after reports the US could review its position on the territory. A leaked Pentagon email set out options for President Donald Trump's administration to punish NATO allies for refusing to support its war on Iran. Downing Street insists that the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands is not in question. The family of Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent victims, are holding a memorial service in Washington, D.C. to mark 1 year since her death. It comes 2 days before King Charles arrives in the U.S. for a 4-day state visit. Ms. Giuffre's brother and sister-in-law have strongly urged the king to meet with them, as well as survivors of the paedophile financier. But royal sources say a meeting is not possible while there are ongoing police investigations. 2 young children have died in a house fire in Wolverhampton last night. West Midlands police say they were rescued from the burning building but pronounced dead at the scene. 2 other children and a woman were already out of the house before emergency services arrived. Police have cordoned off the area while investigations continue. A man has been charged with the murder of a 27-year-old woman in Westminster 2 years ago after police extradited him from the United Arab Emirates. 18-year-old Enzo Bettamio appeared in court today, charged with the fatal stabbing of the woman known as Angela in April 2024 near her home in Bayswater. The man of no fixed address was extradited on a flight from Dubai to the UK on Friday. He's been remanded in custody and is due at the Old Bailey on Tuesday. And the number of dog attacks causing injuries has risen by more than 80% since 2020. Figures obtained by the Daily Mirror revealed there were nearly 29,400 incidents last year. The increase is despite the ban of XL bullies, which came into force in February 2024. 3 people have been killed in dog attacks just this month, including a 3-month-old girl near Redcar. Those are the latest headlines. Let's get back to Dawn.
Thank you very much, Bethany. I love working with Bethany. She is one of the hardest working people here. She's already done her own show today. OK, let's get straight into today's topics. Is Sir Keir Starmer heading into another week of turmoil? Spoiler alert, yes is the answer. Reports suggest members of the Prime Minister's cabinet are holding private talks over who should ask him to step down following, the Peter Mandelson scandal. This comes ahead of his former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, appearing before the Foreign Affairs Committee next week, where he'll give evidence on Peter Mandelson's vetting process and answer questions about whether he bullied the Foreign Office and would he throw his boss under the bus. Joining me now is former Director of Communications at Number 10 Downing Street, Jonathan Haslam. Jonathan, you've been there. You've been a Director of Communications. How is the communications around this scandal looking to you at the moment?
It's pretty rough around the edges and it's rough in the centre, Dawn. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
So I can only say, as a former Director of Communications, I'm very glad I'm not the current Director of Communications. It's a nightmare for anybody to deal with, including Keir Starmer. But then he is the author of his own downfall. So sympathy is being played out on a very small violin, I think, throughout most of the country. And we have to know actually now, is he going to be able to do something which would stabilise matters for the country, not for him? I think that this is important. And you've already mentioned it, but he is facing Terrible Tuesday. Not only do we have Morgan McSweeney giving evidence, but we also have Sir Philip Barton, who was the Permanent Secretary at the Foreign Office prior to Sir Ollie Robbins. And it was he who said that he had a fair amount to do with Downing Street's private office when a lot of pressure was applied, and that was passed to Ollie Robbins. In the Commons, the Prime Minister denied that pressure had been applied, and therefore there is a mood within Parliament to say, should he face a sleaze inquiry over misleading the House? So that just compounds things. And then we have this swirl around him as a leader. Is he actually the man to take the country forward? And there, the jury is out. And I suspect, Dawn, that we might find ourselves facing a bit of a zombie government for the next 10, 12 months even, because nobody in the Labour Party could agree on who might be best placed to take on that particular job. And Sir Steer Karma, as I've called him, rather than Keir Starmer, maybe he's trying to achieve that aim, but I don't think he's necessarily going to get there. So we're going to be faced as a country looking at all of the issues of the Iran war, the effect it's having on prices, the cost of living issues that we have, our energy prices, all of that. In a sense, it's so difficult to deal with when you have all of this fuss and bother going around. And people may say, well, it's a Westminster bubble story. The trouble is, the people involved in making these decisions are in Westminster.
Yeah, and the thing is, Jonathan, it does affect... I keep coming back to this. It's like, oh, Westminster bubble, no one really cares. But we should care, because the whole lack of judgment around Peter Mandelson, you know, the fact that he had close ties to Russia, close ties to China, not to mention the whole Jeffrey Epstein affair. I mean, you have to question the judgment being exhibited by a Prime Minister who thinks he would be a good appointment. At the very least, it could be a national security risk we're talking about here. So it should be important to all of us.
It is very important to all of us, and we all need to wake up and then think very long and hard about what has happened to politics in the last 5 to 10 years. We can talk about Brexit, of course, but let's just look at those two standards, the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. Both, because of their actions, have lost support on both wings, the left and the right of their own parties, because every party is, to borrow that old cliche, a broad church. And that has allowed other parties, the Greens, to take sway. Nigel Farage and Reform, obviously, from a right part of the wing, has gained ground. And the Liberal Democrats, who seem to be, apart from one or two lunatic out fringes, probably the most stable of the lot. And I think we should all be very, very careful about this. My own views about the Greens and some of the things they're doing just fill me with a degree of horror, frankly, Dawn.
Yeah, it is worrying, the fact that we could end up with no one at all running the country, with some kind of weird, convoluted, hung parliament. But if you were advising the Prime Minister now, Jonathan, I mean, do you think he should have come out and admitted that he inadvertently misled Parliament? Would that have made it better? Would that have nipped some of this in the bud?
Well, there are a lot of things with the benefit of hindsight that would have nipped things in the bud. I mean, the first thing is, could he bother to find out what developed vetting was before he took the precipitate action to fire Ollie Robbins? Because it is quite clear that a process was followed. And interestingly, from my point of view, there's a complete failure of communications then to put the Guardian story right when it said vetting had been denied. It hadn't, because they didn't understand the process and nobody explained the process properly. But you can go back even further. Basically, Sir Simon Case said, if you're going to make a political appointment, and particularly something that's controversial, then do your vetting in advance. They didn't. They just went ahead and announced that it was going to happen. So there are many, many aspects of judgment that are there. Where are you now? Difficult one to say, because you can actually work on the basis of nobody's in a position to challenge you, because nobody wants to be a first mover. Andy Burnham's not there. By the way, swift note to Andy, when you say we need to get over the bond markets, I'm afraid you need to understand where the country is in relation to the bond markets. You don't hold the cards, they do. So there is no agreement on who might necessarily take over. And you could therefore take the opportunity of accepting you've made mistakes in perhaps a more obvious way. Certainly being in a position to say, on the basis of what we've heard in Parliament, if Sir Philip Barton certainly says that there was pressure, you would go back and say, this was not known to me at the time, I do apologise, and see if you can move on. But one way or the other, I think we're going to be stuck with Sir Keir Starmer for quite a lot longer. And the question is, can he actually do something for the country, which means taking brave decisions? There are two things specifically we need to look at, aside from the general economy. First of all, we need to put a real great onus on defence because we're under attack. And secondly, we need to say, and as someone who does take an old age pension, a state pension, the triple lock is not sustainable, and there are other aspects of welfare that are not sustainable. We cannot keep on signing cheques which are post-dated for our children and grandchildren to pick up. It's just not morally right. And as a country, we have to face up to that.
Jonathan, the latest polls are saying that sort of like, less than, around about 20% of people in Scotland, England and Wales think Keir Starmer should stay on as Labour leader. If, and I don't think it's too much of an if, the government lose control of Wales, lose control of Scotland, lose many of the local council elections that are taking place, do you think then we'll see someone making a move after May the 7th? I mean, we've already got I know Angela Rayner's got her tax issues to sort out, but saying today, I want to come back, but we've got to get rid of Shabana Mahmood. Do you think he might go that early?
I don't think so. I think that there is no agreement. We've spoken a little bit about the potential for coalitions, but you look at the coalition that there's the Labour Party. The right don't want Angela Rayner. The left don't want Wes Streeting. Is Shabana Mahmood the insider who might actually be the least worst option? We don't want the least worst option. We want the right person to lead the country. And we're not quite sure who that is at the moment. But what we do want is stability, a focus on the things that really matter to us. Cost of living, defence, a proper understanding of where the state comes in to help people, and an understanding about our position in the world. And it may not be popular with all of GB News' viewers, but my own view is that I'm afraid we do need to be closer to Europe because we are not as close to the United States as people like to pretend that we are. And we're a small island, a rich island with great, incredible potential still. How do we maximise that? And those are the things that ought to be really concentrating our minds.
Yeah, Jonathan, just quickly and finally, you've been in politics for a long time now. Are you surprised at how bad some of the current crop of politicians are? And that's not just a political point, not just on Labour, but across the board.
I think it's a factor of too many people who are professional politicians rather than people who have real-world experience. And there are some people who have been very able. When you look at, for example, Michael Portillo was one of those you could say was a professional politician. I think there's something within also government. You've had a long run for the Tories and you had a long run for Labour. And while that happens, there is no real understanding of the workings of government from an opposition which comes into government. And knowing how to make that machine work, a machine that constantly needs to be refreshed, by the way. As a civil servant, I have a huge respect for the civil service itself, but even my time would say it was never perfect. It can't be perfect. No organisation is, and it needs to move forward. That lack of familiarity with actually governing is a problem. And it's now, I mean, if you go back to Tony Blair, he said very carefully, well, when he first came in, he was hugely popular and didn't know how to do the job. And by the time he was desperately unpopular, he did know how to do the job. And that's a bit of a problem.
Let's leave it there. Jonathan, thank you so much. That's former Director of Communications at Number 10, Jonathan Haslam there. Thank you very much for joining us. OK, let's move on from that story. But as always, let me know what you think. I'll read as many out as I can. Now, the Together Declaration is holding protests in London, Edinburgh, Cardiff and Belfast today, calling on the government to scrap digital ID. GB News reporter Isabel Fekulek joins us now. Isabel, where are you and what's happening?
Good afternoon, Dawn, and what an afternoon we're expecting here in Trafalgar Square, anticipating at least a few thousand people for this protest today to scrap digital IT. As you can see behind me, people already gathering here this morning holding their signs, and we're anticipating a huge day, lots of speakers, lots of organisation gone into this from the Together Now Association, and I'm joined now by the co-founder Alan Miller. Alan, tell me a bit about what is in store for the day today.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for being here. We have a Four Nations Scrap Digital ID rally. So we're here in Trafalgar Square. We're also outside the Senate in Cardiff. We're outside Scottish Parliament in Holyrood in Edinburgh, and also in Belfast outside the City Town Hall. And we've been doing a several-month Take Back Democracy tour about scrapping digital ID in the run-up to May 7th elections. What we're saying is the public do not want this. Mr. Keir Starmer needs to listen. Everyone's going to be having some of these. We're going to be showing a little stunt later on that we're going to be doing. What are we saying, everyone, about digital ID? Scrap it! Scrap it! Well, we need a bit of encouragement. What are we going to do with digital ID, everyone? Scrap it! How are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? Together! And basically, we've got great speakers, we've got a couple of live PAs, we've got a comedian, and we're working with lots of different organisations around the country. Our goal at Together is that the public get to have our voices heard, and we don't have technocrats like Keir Starmer and Darren Jones telling us 1 minute, well, it's mandatory, the next minute it's not, but by the way, if you don't do it, you'll probably not be able to get into lots of areas. We've just seen data breaches, millions of them happening again. Passports, medical information, all of France. We see it time and time again. So if you're only concerned just with your privacy and data, it's a huge issue. But it's also an issue for 8 million directors on one login, for children, the Children Wellbeing Schools Bill, a unique digital identifier. And the main thing is the British public has never agreed to that. We're with Winston Churchill on this. It's not the free way. We stand on the shoulder of giants that have fought for freedom. That's what England and Britain's all about. That's why we've got a Four Nations rally today, Scrap Digital ID, and we're encouraging everyone to make their voices heard on the 7th of May.
All right, thank you so much for coming on, and a huge day in store. We'll be bringing you live coverage of this protest happening today, one of 4 in the nation this morning, sending a clear message, as you can see behind me, to scrap digital ID.
Certainly getting the point across. Isabel, thank you so much. That's GB News reporter Isabel Fekulak now. OK, now let's go up to Scotland, where a GB News reporter, Tony Maguire, is in Edinburgh for us. Tony.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dawn. Well, a slightly different scene here in Edinburgh. It's still a little early. In fact, last minute we just got word, you heard from Alan Miller there, that the protest has moved from here on Queen's Drive, which is just running the border of Holyrood Park, just down to just behind me where the Holyrood Parliament is. But as you can see, it's quite a spectacular summer scene here today, you know, and despite that, it's bitter cold, a conflict of interest, you might say, for me here on the ground. But that same conflict is really what Together Declaration are trying to get through today. You know, the government, they say, is here offering this ID which will make life easy, and indeed perhaps without one you won't be able to access certain areas of public service. Now, earlier this year, Keir Starmer, he rolled back on the mandatory nature of the digital ID, but as we've heard there again, that, you know, for groups like directors, veterans and indeed children, with the Children and Welfare Bill going on down in England, that they are going to be rolled out unique identifiers. Now, the question, of course, around this all is privacy, and indeed Edinburgh itself has been put on notice as early as Wednesday, because we saw Together Declaration beam those giant pictures up onto the walls of Edinburgh Castle announcing all of these protests happening around the UK, and indeed make believe for protests of this nature, especially at the weekend and on a wonderful kind of sunny spring day like this, you know, we are expecting in the realms of a few hundred people to be there, but the question will really remain of, will it really make a difference? This isn't really a devolved issue. This is something that Keir Starmer is looking to bring through for the entire of United Kingdom, and I think that's really the nature of these 4 capital protests. Really interesting to see how the message is received in all corners of the United Kingdom. Here in Scotland, of course, we love a good protest, you know, never turn down a good protest. And of course, with the last few years of SNP government, we've had a fair few of them. So let's just see if today turns out to be a shadow of what things are like for Isabel down in London.
Indeed. Tony, thank you so much. That's GB News reporter Tony Maguire there in Edinburgh for us on the digital ID protests happening around the country. One of the mad things about digital ID is that the new cards, whether you want them or not, will not record whether the holder is a man or a woman. Well, I mean, what's the point of having a digital ID if it doesn't even tell you what sex you are? And by the way, there are only two, just in case you want to argue that one with me. OK, now, Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, has said digital ID will become the front door to how you access public services and will cut costs to the taxpayer. He added that data relating to the digital ID will always be stored in line with standard government practice, just like how your passport or national insurance data is stored today. OK, good luck with that one, everybody. I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. The Prime Minister moves to ban Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps as fears grow over Tehran-linked attacks on British streets. You could say, why now? Why didn't you do it several years ago? In any case, all of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go too far. I'll see you very soon.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Now, Keir Starmer is reportedly set to prescribe the IRGC as a terrorist organisation within weeks. This comes as US President Donald Trump has sent an envoy to Pakistan for peace talks on the Iran war today. But Tehran says there's no meeting planned. I mean, this is what we're getting all the time with, is it? One side said that, the other says that, and no one knows what the hell is going on. So joining me now to discuss this story is Iranian dissident and activist Lily Mu. Lily, always good to see you, always looking immaculate, and just explaining why she always dresses like that. It's quite fascinating. But Lily, let's talk about this story. Keir Starmer prescribing them finally, or talking about potentially prescribing them, not done it yet, by the way. Why now?
Honestly, the wording is a really disheartening foreplay, because we have been encouraging the prescription of IRGC through meeting after meeting in so many rooms, in House of Lords, in Parliament, in demonstration after demonstration. For 15 weeks, my own group in London held demonstrations as strong as 50,000 Iranians and their supporters, calling for the prescription of the IRGC. Why? Because the Labour government, when they were doing their own campaign to come into power, one of the routes they were rooting for their actions towards more security for the United Kingdom, our national security itself, was to prescribe IRGC in the terrorist organization list. However, our Prime Minister, not only they have not done this in his party yet, how much longer are they going to prolong friendship with this regime before they finally put the stamp on this terrorist organization? And I have another question. Who is going to go to prison knowing that this organization has threatened lives of Britons, such as myself, and so many others? Who is going to be held accountable for the activities that this organization is ongoingly carrying on in the UK, and has done so for the past multiple decades? So just prescribing IRGC is not enough, in my opinion. They should also be held accountable and deported.
Well, and we know that, I mean, the reason this story is being discussed now is because there have been 5 recent incidents in London targeting synagogues, and it was at a meeting in a synagogue that Keir Starmer came out with this, that's saying he will prescribe it eventually. But we know, Lily Mu, there have been at least 20 that we know about, attacks by the IRGC in London within the last couple of years. We know they broadcast live TV from West London.
Yes.
And we know that they still have an embassy here.
I mean, the supporters of IRGC held a demonstration in support of IRGC outside the Prime Minister's residence just a few days ago, but I was myself present there. And we were all countering this. We were calling out all the atrocities. Let us not forget that IRGC has murdered tens of thousands, multiple tens of thousands, that the regime is still playing with the figures. One of the figures that they finally accepted is more than 46,000. Now imagine that's happened in 48 hours. And this is not a situation where IRGC members are just men. The pink Hummers with the pink guns, with burqa wearing IRGC females, or female presenting, as they are apparently very fluid these days in IRGC, were behind these pink Hummers saying that we were also part of the barricade that killed all of the Iranians on the streets when they came to the streets in January. So IRGC not only must be prescribed, they have to be held accountable for the crimes against humanity. If they already have foot in this country, they have to be taken to international courts for their crimes.
And we know, well, it seems on a weekly basis almost, that, the regime in Iran is still hanging people.
More
young
than
women for protesting.
600 people since January have been publicly executed. The protesters who were injured during the shootings in the January 7th, 8th and 9th were actually shot in the head in the hospital. Those are all public executions, which are being sort of played about in the numbers of figures. But yes, public hangings, public executions have been in their hundreds since January. So IRGC is the one who's pulling the noose.
Oh, God, absolutely fine.
Terrorists.
Lily Mu, thank you so much for coming on. And
Keir
Starmer, who is in Chequers at the moment, writing the King's Speech, in which he might actually get round to mentioning this Well, we'll wait and see.
Thank
Lily
you.
Moo, thank you
Thank
so
you very
much. That's
much.
Iranian dissident and activist Lily Moo there. Okay, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. But first, once again, it's time for the news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner heading to Pakistan for negotiations on how to end the war in Iran. Iran's foreign minister is already in the capital, Islamabad, but it's reported he won't be holding any direct talks with the US. Downing Street insists the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands is not in question. It comes as Argentina is calling for negotiations over the territory to reopen after a leaked report revealed the US could review its position. 2 young children have died in a house fire in Wolverhampton last night. West Midlands police say they were rescued from the burning building but pronounced dead at the scene. The family of Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent victims, are holding a memorial service in Washington, D.C. to mark 1 year since her death. It comes ahead of King Charles's state visit next week. They're calling on him to meet with them and other survivors. You're up to date for now. I'll have more for you at 2 o'clock.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Now remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay and join in the conversation, or scan the QR code on your screen now. There's loads more coming up today, including, yes, sausage rolls. Greggs goes fortress, scrapping self-service and putting food behind the counter as shoplifting spirals. Will more high streets be forced to lock everything down? All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very, very soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. High pressure still holding on, giving plenty of sunshine, though it was a bit of a foggy start in places, and there will be some low cloud, particularly across the northeast, but high pressure extending across the UK, keeping weather fronts away from much of the UK, leading to plenty of sunshine as we move through the day ahead, though there is the risk of a few showers and some thicker cloud across parts of Northern Ireland through this afternoon, and some low cloud still affecting northeastern parts of Scotland down into northeast England with a cold northeasterly breeze here, so it will keep temperatures down 11 to 13 degrees, but elsewhere plenty of sunshine, lifting temperatures to around 22, possibly 23 Celsius with light winds. UV levels will be high and pollen levels high to very high for most of us as well. Looking at the evening picture, northern and eastern Scotland rather cloudy, the risk of a little patchy rain, but further west plenty of sunshine. Sunny spells breaking through to end the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England as well, though grey along some eastern coasts, and elsewhere plenty of sunshine. Sunshine perhaps hazy by the end of the day across some western parts of England and Wales. And then overnight what we'll see is the low cloud across parts of the north and the east just sinking further southwards and westwards, moving inland, some higher cloud moving in from the west as well. So it generally means there'll be a mixture of clear spells and the risk of 1 or 2 showers coming into northwest Scotland as well overnight. So towns and cities holding up 4 or 5 degrees in places. Any prolonged clear spells, we could see a touch of frost once more. So a bit more of a mixed start to Sunday. Most of us will be dry. There will be some showery outbreaks of rain pushing eastwards across Scotland through the day. Elsewhere, we'll see some hazy spells of sunshine breaking through at times, and winds will generally stay light. And in that sunshine, temperatures lifting to around 20-21 Celsius.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Well, it's kind of lunchtime. It is coming up to 20 to 2 already, golly gosh. So let's talk food, shall we? Sausage rolls. Fancy a sausage roll? Well, Greggs have scrapped self-service in some stores in its toughest anti-theft move yet. Sausage rolls, steak bakes, whatever you can buy in Greggs are now kept behind staff-only counters, ending open displays. The shift follows repeated thefts, with staff left powerless as shelves have been cleared. Oh, my God. Joining me now is journalist Dominic Lemansky. Dominic, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Dominic, this is really sad. We've got to lock sausage rolls up now for their own safety.
Well, yeah, look, this is sad. I've been monitoring this one since late last month. I go to Croydon and I speak to a lot of the staff working in a whole range of retailers. And when I was last in Greggs in West Croydon, one of the security staff there started showing me the photos on his phone of wounds on the top of his head that he'd suffered when he was attacked with a belt buckle. And he went on and started to describe an attack on a colleague who had a cup of scalding hot tea thrown in his face because he challenged someone for not paying for. We're talking about cookies. We're talking about crisps, we're talking about sandwiches, and we're talking about soft drinks. And he said, well, we're closing soon, and this store's going to be refitted. We're going to move all of the crisps and the cookies that are next to him behind the counter. The fridges are going to go behind the counter. So effectively, there'll be nothing that a customer can put their hands on. So it's like an end to self-service as we know it in Greggs.
And Dominic, we know shoplifting is on the rise. I mean, it's sort of like literally every single day we hear another horror story like the security guard you're talking about, where, you know, staff just doing their jobs are being attacked. But, you know, we're not talking about high, expensive products here. We are talking about sausage rolls and biscuits and cups of tea and things like that people are trying to steal. Now, this is being spread, these security measures, I believe, are being spread through other Greggs, certainly around London as well, in some of their other capital cities. Do you think this is the way it's going to have to go?
I think more and more we're going to move towards a sort of dystopian future where we're going to have less and less contact with each other, and we're going to be dealing with machines, and products are going to be removed from us in terms of physical touch, because in so many stores, in so many crime hit areas of the country, I've concentrated on Croydon, but I've done this story for 2.5 years across London, across Surrey, different towns with similar problems, and I'm sure it's happening all around the country, where we're having to move to a system where we have to assume that the customer can't be trusted anymore, sadly. I could list probably 10 or 20 different retailers taking similar or earlier measures to what Greggs is doing now.
Dominic, as you say, you've been looking into this story for a long time now. Is there anything that links the areas? Are they areas that are particularly poor? I mean, people stealing because they have to. I don't get that impression that that's the case. But is there something that links these areas?
I think there's a mix of issues. You've got a homelessness problem. You've got a mental health problem. The security guard I spoke to in Greggs could actually point to the woman that he claimed had committed the assault with the scalding hot cup of tea because she was across the road, asleep outside a KFC. These people are known in many cases. look, you've got people on drugs, you've got homeless people, you've got people with mental health issues, you've also just got opportunist thieves. There's a level of entitlement with some people, and I'm sure as well there is in some cases people who genuinely, don't have enough, to eat or drink. I've heard of one retailer this week saying that homeless people being hired for £5 a time to steal a haul of goods, which is then they take it to an independent corner shop. They get paid their £5, and then the corner shop sells those goods on to unsuspecting members of the public.
So it's an organised crime issue as well.
Organised crime, and then there are simple opportunists, and then there are obviously you could, the drug addict or the homeless person or the homeless drug addict isn't just doing it, because they're some Mr. Big and they're part of a organised crime gang. But the people that employ them, yes, could well be, and then it goes on to be sold. Obviously, that corner shop is looking to make as much money, even if it's dishonestly, by selling, someone else's, could be a bottle of whiskey, it could be a pack of Cadbury's cream eggs, which you see more and more. I think the most stolen chocolate in London is Ferrero Rocher's, which has been Ferrero Rocher chocolates, which has been confirmed by the Met Police. So that's why you've got all of these small little incremental measures, so that you can't go into a store and with one swipe of your arm take all the Cadbury's bars, exactly as you're showing on the screen now, to make it harder and harder. But it's sad that I've known Croydon since I was a child. I didn't grow up that far from there, and it could always be a bit rough and ready, but nothing like what you're seeing today.
It's frightening, and as we started, Dominic, I mean, the fact is it will stop all human interaction. We'll just stop trusting anybody.
There is that issue. There is a sort of, in some high streets, there is a sort of, if you walk around, and obviously I'm walking around, I might do this, say, once a week, and I might be in a T.G. Jones, formerly W.H. Smith, or Tesco, Sainsbury's, Superdrug, Boots, Greggs, and the store staff have got their eyes on you, and they're also encouraged to ask you if you need any help, because they know if I was a potential shoplifter, the idea is to let me know they've seen I'm there, and to help me if I'm a genuine customer, but also make me that little bit more unsettled if I'm a potential thief.
Yeah, oh dear, worrying times. Dominic, thank you so much. That's journalist Dominic Lemensky there on the awful rise of shoplifting. I mean, Greg's having to lock everything up behind glass, so it just prevents theft. The world's gone mad, sorry. OK, now it is 1:45 already, golly gosh, and it's time for the Great British Giveaway, and it's the final week to see how you could win that brand new 4-berth camper van and £25,000 in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. Just in time for summer, you could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year, as it comes complete with all of the features you'd expect of a vehicle worth over £67,000. A built-in kitchen and bathroom, dedicated living areas, and panoramic opening rear doors. Plus, you can drive it on your existing licence. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck!
Good luck indeed. And remember, keep those messages coming. I just want to read this quick one out from Robert. Says, Dawn, having a lovely day in Hove. We have GB News on as per normal in the bar, but the mood changes from happy to everyone shouting abuse at Keir Starmer whenever he comes on screen. And this is a Labour area. In any case, have a lovely day in that bar, Robert, and everyone down there watching. Thank you so much for your company. OK, we're moving on. We're going to be live at that digital ID protest in Trafalgar Square. But first, if you are in search of some holiday sun, it's rather lovely here, isn't it? Here's the forecast for those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A big talking point across southern Europe at the moment is just how warm it is for the time of year across parts of Portugal, Spain and France. We do have some showers affecting the Canary Islands, but it's the showers with that heat in Iberia that are turning heavy and thundery, starting to ease as we go through tomorrow and into next week. Dry for many parts around the central Med, with the showery rain affecting Greece at the moment, clearing away towards the east, and there's more fine, dry, warm weather to come for many as we go into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lots of lovely people all here to enjoy themselves here. The sun is shining. We've got some live music on stage, which thankfully, it's just about to start again. I thought we'd just got a little bit of peace and quiet from the music, but I want to speak and show you and introduce you to Killer Cavendish, who I think is one of the best dressed people here at the St George's Day celebrations. We've got the red and white, we've got the St George's cross, we've got the dragon as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us, why have you wanted to come out today and celebrate St George's Day?
Well, I do it every year, and I think it's great. I like dressing up anyway, because I go to festivals, and I like celebrating St George's, because I love dragons.
You love dragons?
Yes.
Tell us about the dragon, because is this a puppet dragon as well, am I right?
Yes, he is. But I can't do the talking bit.
And he's got a little bow tie on as well. As you've got your wonderful hat on as well. What do you kind of think about when you think about St George's Day? What are some of the things that you think are worth celebrating when it comes to St George's Day?
Well, I think of pubs, people eating scones, having green teas, enjoying Pimm's if it's nice, roast dinners, anything that's English really.
Yeah, and why is it important that we mark days like this? I mean, we've got a great celebration, of course, here, in the middle of Trafalgar Square, but all around the country, there's little St George's Day celebrations. Why is it important that we all get out and celebrate a day like this?
Well, I think we need to remember who we are. This country has a lot of cultures which we enjoy celebrating and joining in, and I think it's important to celebrate our own as well.
Amazing, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes and Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
News channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company on this gorgeous Saturday afternoon. OK, now the Together Declaration is holding protests in London, Edinburgh, Cardiff and Belfast today, calling on the government to scrap digital ID. So let's cut straight to the chase and go to Trafalgar Square, where GB News reporter Isabel Feculak is there for us. Isabel, how's it going?
Good afternoon, Dawn. The atmosphere here is certainly starting to build. The anticipation of this event that's going to start at 2 o'clock, so just in a few minutes, really. And there's definitely crowds starting to build here and increased police presence. I'm seeing at least 6 police vehicles just around me right now, so definitely expecting there to be quite the demonstration today. Now there's going to be speakers, a publicity stunt at 3 o'clock too that will bring you here on GB News. And one of those speakers that we're going to be hearing from is Chris Rose, who's going to talk to me exclusively now. Chris, what's the aim today? What's the message you're going to be sending?
Hi, good afternoon. So yes, the message I will be sending today is that how the digital ID can pose a threat to free speech, just like it poses a threat with the online safety bill. We're hearing from a range of speakers as well about how incompetent civil servants advised by competent ministers and advised by an incompetent Prime Minister can cause danger for society as well, because we should reject freedoms going from the individual to institutions all the time.
And how can people kind of take matters into their own hands here by coming into protests? You're encouraging people to speak to their MPs. What can people do if they're against digital ID?
Well, what they should do is get organised, as Together is doing. We have people from directors to people who work in companies. They know how it will impact when we have all of our data going into a database controlled by the government. Because we've seen it in places like Denmark, for example, where the whistleblower told people that it would pose a danger and to the people's information. And we will see that in England and the whole of the UK if it happens here. So I do think we should get organised. You should speak to your MPs, speak to anyone in authority as well, because the more voices we have, the more powerful it will be.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll be covering this protest here today throughout the afternoon, one of 4 happening in the country. We're expecting thousands to gather here in Trafalgar Square.
Thank you very much, Isabel. Well, it looks it's certainly a nice day for it, isn't it, down there? OK. Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, said digital ID will become the front door to how you access public services and will cut costs to the taxpayer. He added that data relating to digital ID will always be stored in line with standard government practice, just like your passport and national insurance data. OK, I'm Dawn Newsom. This is GB News. Lots more coming up, but here's the weather first.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Plenty of sunny spells, continuing to be largely dry over the next 24 hours through the rest of the weekend. Though generally a bit more cloud around, some weather fronts near the northwest of the UK giving a few splashes of rain, but generally high pressure holding on as we move through the rest of the weekend. Some showers across western parts of Scotland, thicker cloud across northern and eastern Scotland into the evening may just produce 1 or 2 spots of rain. But as we head overnight, it'll be largely dry, some low cloud and fog affecting eastern parts of the UK once more, perhaps not quite as thick as last night. Under the cloud, temperatures falling to around 4 or 5 degrees in places, but any clear spells in the countryside, a touch of frost is possible. So most, it will be a bit of a mixed start to Sunday morning. The risk of some showery rain across parts of the Highlands and the Islands, but further south and east across Scotland, a dry start with some sunny spells, though some fog patches and low cloud in places too. A mixture of cloud and a few splashes of rain for Northern Ireland, perhaps Northern England as well. A grey start across some eastern parts of England, foggy in places too. Elsewhere, some hazy spells of sunshine. And as we go through the day, I think overall the picture won't change too much. Low cloud across the east should burn back to the North Sea coast. And then there'll be hazy spells of sunshine for the vast majority. So it might not be quite as blue the sky out there on a Sunday compared to today, and further splashes of rain pushing eastwards across northern parts of Scotland. Temperatures overall still well above average for the time of year for most of us, up to around 21 or 22 Celsius. Just still cool where we see some low cloud lingering. We'll also see those showers continuing to move through as we move into the evening on Sunday. And then high pressure looks like it generally stays in charge. Perhaps 1 or 2 showers around on Monday, but temperatures staying well above average.
Today, Clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. You could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
To warm family brunches.
from football to tennis in the car,
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 25th of April, and this is the weekend on GB News. Thank you so much for your company. Packed final hour together, yeah, including, we have to talk about him, I'm sorry if you're in the pub, the Prime Minister on the brink. Cabinet ministers are reportedly plotting his exit as allies of Angela Rayner demand Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood be sacked as a price for her return. Meanwhile, the Home Secretary is reportedly considering negotiating with the Taliban to deport failed Afghan asylum seekers in a bid to persuade the public Labour can control our borders.
Order and control at our border is not a betrayal of Labour values. It is the necessary condition for a Labour government to achieve anything it hopes to.
Meanwhile, nationwide protest today over the digital ID. Campaigners say it's becoming mandatory in all but name as new systems are rolled out.
Yes, we're here in Edinburgh and the protest is already underway here outside the Scottish Parliament. Dozens, if not hundreds of Scots turned up to say no to digital ID. We'll have all the latest about these 4 nation protests. Action.
Well, here in Trafalgar Square, the protest is just about to begin. The crowds gathering in the centre here, ready for a day of a huge demonstration, sending a clear message to scrap digital ID.
And meanwhile, could women shun marriage? Well, it's happening in South Korea. Many young women are rejecting relationships and motherhood over inequality cost of living and career pressures. But could this trend spread? We'll be having a debate on that one. And obviously, finally, it's Marathon Day tomorrow, and more than 59,000 people are expected on the start line of the London Marathon, including professional athletes, amateurs, and lots of celebrities as well. And our co-director, I've just been told in my ear, Jessica, well, good luck, Jess. Good luck to everyone that's running. But how will they be prepping for it today? Maybe Jess will tell us later. I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is The Weekend. So thank you so much for your company this afternoon. And if you are running the marathon tomorrow, or you are supporting someone who's running the marathon, huge amounts of luck. It is the most stunning, wonderful, exciting day. Exhausting, but a brilliant day out, and so much money is raised for charities. I mean, and the weather is going to be slightly hot if you're running, but lovely if you're sitting watching with a cold beer, which is the best way to do it, to be honest with you. But so good luck to you all. And if you're resting today, which you should be, by the way, and hopefully you've got the telly on or the radio, get in touch. gbnews.com/yoursay or scan the QR code. Let us know. Let us know if you're running tomorrow, what you're doing today. Are you hydrating enough? You're not down the pub drinking beer, are you? No, I know. Okay, let us know. Keep in touch, and we'll talk about all the stories we're talking about today. We can even talk about Keir Starmer if you really want to, and why women are shunning marriage and babies. Indeed, they'd rather have pet dogs. Let us know your thoughts on all of those stories, but all of that coming up after the news headlines with the wonderful Bethany Arty.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 2:03. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are heading to Pakistan for discussions on ways to end the war in Iran. Iran's foreign minister is already in the capital, Islamabad, but it's reported he won't be holding any direct talks with the US. Iran is blaming America's continued blockade in the Strait of Hormuz and what they say are excessive demands. Meanwhile, 4 people have been killed in Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon. It follows the deaths of 6 people in the area yesterday. Israel's military says it's targeting positions used by Hezbollah. The attacks come despite a 3-week ceasefire extension announced by President Trump on Thursday. Argentina says it wants to reopen negotiations with the UK over the Falkland Islands. It's after reports the US could review its position on the territory. A leaked Pentagon email details options for President Donald Trump's administration to punish NATO allies for refusing to support its war on Iran. Downing Street is adamant the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands is not in question. 2 young children have died in a house fire in Wolverhampton last night. West Midlands police say they were rescued from the burning building but pronounced dead at the scene. 2 other children and a woman were already out of the house before emergency services arrived. Police have cordoned off the area while investigations continue. A man has been charged with the murder of a 27-year-old woman in Westminster 2 years ago after police extradited him from the United Arab Emirates. 18-year-old Enzo Betamio was flown over from Dubai to the UK on Friday. He appeared in court today, charged with the fatal stabbing of the woman known as Angela in April 2024 near her home in Bayswater. He's been remanded in custody and is due at the Old Bailey on Tuesday. The family of Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent victims, are holding a memorial service in Washington, D.C. to mark 1 year since her death. It comes 2 days before King Charles arrives in the U.S. for a 4-day state visit. Miss Giuffre's brother and sister-in-law have strongly urged the King to meet with them, as well as other survivors. But royal sources say a meeting isn't possible while police investigations are ongoing. And the number of dog attacks causing injuries has risen by more than 80% since 2020. Figures obtained by the Daily Mirror reveal there were more than 29,000 incidents last year. The increase is despite the ban of XL bullies, which came into force in February 2024. 3 people have been killed in dog attacks just this month, including a 3-month-old girl. Those are your latest headlines. Let's get back to Dawn.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Bethany. Hello, welcome back. I'm Dawn Newsom, this is GB News. I think that's the case in any case. Thank you so much for your company. Always appreciate it. But what I was distracted by reading through some of your comments. Some of you are a bit cheeky this afternoon, but I don't blame you, because politics is enough to make make you use some very fruity language, isn't it? OK, let's get straight into it then, shall we? Yeah, Keir Starmer. Sorry, if you're in a pub and you're shouting at the telly now, I don't blame you, OK? Have another pint on me. So, is Sir Keir Starmer heading into another week of turmoil? I think we all know the answer to that one, don't we? Reports suggest members of the Prime Minister's cabinet are holding private talks over who should ask him to step down following the Peter Mandelson scandal, which everybody saw coming, apart from Keir Starmer. This comes ahead of his former Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, appearing before the Foreign Affairs Committee next week, I think it's Tuesday. Well, he'll give evidence on Peter Mandelson's vetting process and be asked whether he bullied anyone to get that vetting process hurried up and cleared. Joining me now is a political commentator, the wonderful Peter Barnes, who's actually in the studio with me. I'm normally not allowed to have little friends in the studio because I don't know why, to be honest with you, because you're probably too expensive, to be honest with you, Peter. Peter, we are where we are.
Yeah.
Next week is another popcorn week because we've got two very important people giving testimony about this mess and what's happened.
Yeah, I'm going to say, you have another pint. I think you have a double scotch as well, if I were you, because this is only going to get a lot worse, because it's quite funny that the guy who was elected on a loveless majority has stayed the loveless Prime Minister. I mean, it's rather funny that a man has been able to get more unpopular. I don't know, it's quite impressive how he's done that. But when we actually look at this kind of from a mechanics point of view, they might go to him and say who you need to go, but who is going to replace him is actually the bigger question, because there's not one viable candidate. Not really. The most likely one to kind of pull the trigger is Wes Streeting, because he's an institutional figure, recognisable name. However, he has a lot of Mandelson baggage. He's also seen as a bit of a right-wingy one for the Labour Party, which is saying something. But yeah, he's going to be a difficult one. The other kind of dark horse in all of this is Bridget Phillipson. Now, she's held on to the kind of the trans argument. She's held on to the kind of the trans debate kind of block within the Labour Party by not publishing a lot of the guidance. She's seen as somewhat of the safe hands of the parliamentary party. I always said that she was the dark horse because you always have to be careful of the quiet ones. I learned that at school.
Interesting, yeah.
But I will say that the Ed Miliband is often touted as one of the kind of the great riders in this, but he's somewhat of a, like one of the jockeys at the Grand National. He fell off quite early because he's already said to tell everybody to calm down. So you can't then go out and say, oh, this is a great leadership crisis after you've told people to calm down, there's nothing to see here. He's rather shot himself in the foot in typical Ed Miliband style, but I don't think he's quite realised that also in Ed Miliband style. So it is absolute chaos behind the scenes, but obviously everybody's talking about Big Ange. Everyone knows what Angela Rayner is up to. The problem is the kind of heir apparent has rather lost her shine as well. There's a lot of kind of divisions about her in cabinet, about her fitness, whether she's actually the right kind of person. She's also got this tax situation still hanging overhead. She was earning an absolutely astronomical amount of money on the side now, and she's giving all the right speeches, but what she's not saying is very loud compared to what she's actually saying. In other words, she's saying that the government has done great work, but it could go further. The people are starting to feel the change, but it's not come fast enough. It's the kind of the added extra that is really starting to kind of tell us that she's ready to make a move. She's already been apparently offering jobs left, right, and centre because she was caught with Andy Burnham on a kind of a jolly night out. So if they kind of team together, they don't split any kind of vote, because obviously Andy Burnham can't run because he's not an MP yet. But if somebody then leaves the Labour Party, he gets the seat if Angela stays as leader. That might be the arrangement that we're about to see. He brings the kind of grassroots, the institution. He's also the face of a much more acceptable Labour Party than Angela Rayner would be to the kind of the middle class of England, which they need to keep hold of.
It's very interesting, considering Angela Rayner's tax problems aren't sorted out yet, that she's, well, they're denying it, but there seems to be a leak saying that she would be willing to come back and help Keir Starmer, provided he sacks Shaban Mahmood.
Yeah, for once, I'm actually going to say something I never thought I would say. I agree with Angela Rayner that she should be sacked, not because she's a threat, but because she's absolutely categorically useless. We've seen an increase in money to France. Small boats have still gone up. Increase in migrants, increase in shoplifting, increase in sexual offences by migrants. At what point do we have to say that the woman who's in charge of all of this has fundamentally failed in her job? She should go, but not for the reasons that Angela Rayner wants her to go.
You wouldn't say she's actually taken a tougher stance on it than many in the Labour Party?
I look at actions, I don't look at words. was, because I then also have to go back to when she was the Justice Secretary, I had the Sentencing Council. Her kind of great protest was a strongly worded letter. She had the power to shut down the Sentencing Committee, actually, make this a non-story. She let it go to the very, very last moment, and that tells you an awful lot. I also remember when she was the campaigns director for the Labour Party, she was the one that accused Rishi Sunak of being soft on paedophiles. She really kind of drove the very nasty style of campaigning. She's not a particularly good figure to have as a Prime Minister or even as a Home Secretary, in my opinion. But for me, she's just incompetent. That's why she shouldn't be there. But they all are. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, but they came in saying we wouldn't be incompetent. We would be clear. There would be no sleaze. We would be transparent. Because we had so much mess with the previous government, they came in promising something different. Now, obviously, we have got the elections coming, local elections as well as the elections in Scotland and Wales, which looks like Labour are going to lose both Scotland and Wales, which Wales, I think, will be the first time ever.
Yeah, ever.
So no one's going to really put their head above the parapet before that, are they? They're going to wait and let Keir Starmer take the blame for failing the elections.
Yes, I think that's fair, but also we have to wait to the elections to see who dealt the bigger blow, Reform or the Greens. Yes. Which side of the electorate really actually hit the Labour Party? Because my theory has always been the Labour Party would be taken out by a southpaw, not a right hook. So I always thought the left would take them out by being too kind of not left-wing enough, too establishment. And that's where you've seen the massive amount of votes have actually gone to the Greens because of that. I don't think the Reform are going to actually benefit that much of a collapsed Labour Party. They've benefited out of collapsed Tories, but the Labour Party, they've not really won the argument yet. But we've got to wait for the results. But I tell you now, if they lose Wales and they struggle in Scotland, which they're expected to do, it is going to be somewhat of a bloodbath. But again, it's who picks up the mantle.
OK, and how much do you think this week is going to be damaging to Keir Starmer?
Oh, the damage has already been done. The damage came from Ollie Robbins. Ollie Robbins blew everything he said, Keir Starmer, the day before at the dispatch box apart with relative ease, and he did it with charm and, a smile. And I think he rather delighted in it as well, I'm not going to lie. But the one from Morgan McSweeney will also be very interesting because this was Starmer's guy. This was somebody who also fell on their sword. We're going to see whether he pulls the sword out of his back and sticks it in somebody else. I think that might be quite interesting to see if he decides to go into fireworks, but also it'd be fascinating to see what he actually sounds like, because I think he's given one speech in his entire life.
Well, absolutely. Well, I would be keeping a low profile as well, to be honest with you. Thank you so much, Peter, as always, for coming in. That's political commentator Peter Barnes there, so let us know what you think about that one at gbnews.com/your say. Now, the Together Declaration is holding protests in London, Edinburgh, Cardiff and Belfast today, calling on the government to scrap those digital ID plans. GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire joins us now from that protest in Edinburgh. Tony, how's it going?
Yeah, good afternoon, Dawn. It's slightly different sized protest to the one that you're seeing pictures of in Trafalgar Square. But the personality and I think that the oomph that's behind these protesters is no less powerful, because they're here, they've got their tannoy out, and of course the Scottish kind of voice in this is a big part. It's 1/4 of the opinions that are around this matter. Now we've got people who have come from as far away as Aberdeen, and the speaker on just now is from Perth, so it's very much like a national affair today. And in fact, the speaker that's on just now, he's again saying no to Digital ID Scotland. He's talked about the SNP's previous attempts for digital ID, and in that instance the people were successful about standing up and saying no, we don't want this, and indeed that digital ID never came to pass. But here we are again. Keir Starmer, he has removed the mandatory tag, if you like, from this digital ID project, but of course that comes with a caveat, as if you don't have one then you can't access various arms of public life. Now people here are joined obviously by those in Cardiff and those in Belfast, and of course with Isabel down in Trafalgar Square. Edinburgh itself, they got a bit of a heads up. We saw those massive pictures beamed on to Edinburgh Castle in the middle of the week advertising these protests. But from what I can gather, you know, in the hour really since people have been congregating, is people are just fed up. Really, they're not liking the overreach of government. That's kind of the theme, kind of as we talked about often on this channel. And I think the people here just privacy is meaningful to them. Privacy is something that isn't to be taken for granted. And indeed, from the list of people speaking here today, which includes Donald McLeod, he himself is kind of a large nightclub owner or guru and pub guru in Glasgow. You know, he, and nowhere really in the city life do you get more ID'd than obviously in the pubs and clubs. Penny Lewis is another one who's just about to take the stage. She herself is, you know, a lecturer. She's part of a magazine, and of course part of the Scottish Union for Education. She is another voice here that people today are going to be listening to really dig in to really the fundamentals behind digital ID, more than just the baseline 1984 tagline. However, obviously to draw a crowd like this, that 1984 kind of comparison, you know, has drawn at least over 100 people here today, and it is still early in the day. This protest, much like the others, expected to last for another few hours here in the grounds of Holyrood Parliament.
Okay, Tony, thank you so much. We'll be going back to Tony throughout the day there. That is the digital ID protest in Edinburgh. Okay, now let's go to Isabel Feculuk, who is in London. Isabel, what's happening where you are?
Stay there, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Here in Trafalgar Square, the protest is underway. Speakers have been on stage now shouting out their messages. The clear message, of course, is to scrap digital ID, and many have gathered here, thousands on their way. And I just bumped into Paula London here, who's a broadcaster. Paula, what are you doing here? Are you for or against digital ID?
Against. I really worry with Keir Starmer as our current leader. I know he has a penchant for communism, and when we see what happened in China, you know, when we had the social credit scores, not being able to leave certain districts, and it's very scary. In its essence, it's not bad, digital ID, but it can lead to not being able to leave the country, not being able to leave a vicinity of 20 minutes, and it's very scary. Yeah, we need to say no to this. I believe he's a communist, Keir Starmer, so we don't want this at all.
What are your exact fears? You say you're scared, but what is it exactly that you're afraid of?
I'm scared it's going to lead to social credit scores. So if you don't act accordingly to what Keir Starmer feels, you won't be able to maybe go on holiday, you won't be able to buy meat, you won't be able to travel out of an area. There will be areas of 20 minutes and you can't leave. So I worry there'll be too much restrictions.
And of course they say it's voluntary right now. It started off as mandatory, but a lot of people believe that that's just the beginning. I mean, is the fear that this is going to lead to a more authoritarian district?
Yeah, I believe it could lead to communism, as I say. I believe if you don't act correctly with your social ID, you won't be able to get a tube, for instance, or a train, or you'll be charged more money. This happens in China. I've seen very upsetting videos of guys with their ID trying to travel. They're not allowed out of the area because their social credit score is bad, and they're only able to find this out because of the digital ID. So definitely no to it.
And are you going to be in and amongst the protesters today?
Yeah, I'll be finding out what's going on, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Well, great to see you here. Thanks for coming on. So they're expecting crowds to keep on building. As I said before, there's a real big police presence here in London. I can see so many around just in my vision now. But we're expecting more people to arrive, more crowds, and speakers will be on stage throughout the day here. We'll be bringing you live coverage on GB News.
Thank you so much. That's Isabel Feculuk in Trafalgar Square there at the digital ID protest. OK, now, Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, said digital ID will become the front door to how you access public services and will cut costs to the taxpayer. He added that data relating to the digital ID will always be stored in line with standard government practice, just like how your passport or national insurance data is stored today. What I really want to know, and no one seems to have been able to explain it yet, is who's paying for it? There's no such thing as a free lunch, is there? Where's the money coming from? Where's the budget coming from? OK, I'm Dawn Newsom with GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Could the government negotiate with the Taliban to deport failed asylum seekers? A controversial plan is under consideration. Interesting. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very, very soon.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't
it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company. The government is facing mounting questions over a report it has entered talks with the Taliban about deporting those thousands of failed Afghan asylum seekers. Shabana Mahmood has stopped short of confirming any agreement, but says ministers are closely monitoring similar efforts in Europe and is not ruling anything in or out. So let's talk to immigration lawyer now, Ivan Sampson. Ivan, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. What do you make with this? I mean, should we be negotiating with the likes of the Taliban?
Well, the answer is that we shouldn't, because it's a cruel and repressive regime, especially to certain groups of people like women. We don't have any diplomatic relations with Afghanistan. We don't recognise Taliban as a legitimate government of Afghanistan. So it's very unusual and breaking all conventions. But regarding the story, I mean, a person being labelled as a failed asylum seeker doesn't automatically make deportation lawful, because we're still bound by the European Convention on Human Rights, even if we've determined that their asylum story is not credible. And what that means is that we cannot return anyone to a country where they face a real risk of persecution, either torture or inhumane and degrading treatment. And if before we can send anyone there, the courts, because there'll be profound legal challenges to this, will want assurances from the receiving government that they will not be persecuted. I don't know about you, but I'd be very surprised if we would take anything the Taliban say at face value. And there's other particular groups of people that are extremely at high risk. For example, women. Women are subjected to a dress code. They have to cover themselves in a veil. They can't travel outside their home within a certain distance without a male relative. They don't get access to medical treatment because there's not many women doctors, and they cannot be treated by a male. On top of that, the doctors that are retiring or passing away are not being replaced because women are not allowed to train as doctors. So I don't know about you, but I would not want to send, my moral compass would not be comfortable with sending a failed women asylum seeker back to Afghanistan.
Ivan, isn't the situation here, if we're being completely honest with one another, we're not talking about young women, we're not talking about girls, we are talking about young men. I mean, a record 7,330 Afghans, including 1,670 who crossed the channel on small boats. I mean, they're all men. I mean, they are. I mean, you might have...
Let me give you a case study. A guy, Afghanistan, claims to be gay, let's say, or a Christian convert, let's say, and that's complete nonsense. Yeah, suppose it's complete nonsense. Let me tell you what would happen to that individual when that person gets sent to Afghanistan. Because they have said something that is against the beliefs of the Taliban regime and religion, they would be subjected to arbitrary detention, torture, and potentially face execution. Even if they failed here, the fact that they said they're gay would be sufficient grounds for the Taliban to subject them to such inhumane and degrading treatment. Now, I don't know about you, even if we're not members of the convention, my moral compass would not be comfortable with such a person.
Okay, but what about, I mean, this is a hypothetical example. What about if that Afghan migrant has raped a young girl in this country?
Well, this
surely
is it.
Surely
the
then,
convention,
my moral compass would say you should be on the first plane over to Afghanistan.
See, the convention says even if they are foreign criminals, the right to life and the right to not to be tortured or be subjected to inhumane and degrading treatment is absolute.
What about the victims? What about the victims, Ivan? What about their rights?
No, I hear you and I sympathise with that, but two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, we are bound by the treaty, and even if we're not bound, let's suppose that a new government gets in, withdraws us from the convention. If you knew that a person would be tortured and killed in their country if we send them back, would you be able to live with yourself by doing such a proposal?
If they just raped a young British girl, yes, I certainly would. I'd be paying for their airfare.
Okay, well, I have a different set of moral standards. I wouldn't, because that's wrong, and they should be punished and sent to prison. But while the Taliban remains in power in Afghanistan, we cannot send people there who could be potentially, and there's a real risk of it. It's not that we think there might be, but if you say you're gay, and it's not a credible claim, that person, when they get to Afghanistan, will be arrested, possibly face torture, and possibly executed.
Ivan, can I just ask why? I mean, countries like Germany, and we know other EU countries are considering doing this. Now, they're all signed up to the ECHR as well. Why would they be allowed to do it, but not the UK?
I think you'll find rulings by the ECHR Strasbourg court preventing that. I mean, a lot of this is blowing whistle to people's trying to get votes. I mean, that's what's going on. And it's funny the timing of this before the May elections, that the government want to be seen to be really hard on for failed asylum seekers. It's a huge problem. We don't know what to do with failed asylum seekers. And it's a problem that's it's universal and it's worldwide, because you can't return people to countries like Afghanistan.
OK, so what about like someone like Rwanda, for example? I think someone came up with that idea. If they're a failed asylum seeker, we put them in a third country that is safe, our problem sorted, it acts as a deterrent. Would that work?
Well, the Supreme Court says the policy itself was not unlawful. So, yes, we can do that, but not Rwanda. Paul Kagame, the leader of Rwanda, is a murderer. He arbitrarily detains people and executes his opponents. Do we really want to do business with someone like him? Please. No, the policy itself is fine. The Supreme Court said that, but not Rwanda. So the government can do that and return people to safe third countries. We've got to find them, have those agreements, and put in place safeguards to protect their rights when they get there.
OK. Ivan, thank you so much. Interesting debate that will continue, no doubt. Immigration lawyer Ivan Sampson there. Thank you so much for joining us. OK. Let me know what you think of that one. I'm pretty damn sure you will. I'm Dawn Neeson, GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show, but first, it's the latest news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner heading to Pakistan for negotiations on how to end the war in Iran. Iran's foreign minister is already in the capital, Islamabad, but it's reported he won't be holding any direct talks with the US. Downing Street insists the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands is not in question. It comes as Argentina is calling for negotiations over the territory to reopen after a leaked report revealed the US could review its position. 2 young children have died in a house fire in Wolverhampton last night. West Midlands police say they were rescued from the burning building but pronounced dead at the scene. And the family of Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent victims, are holding a memorial service in Washington, D.C. to mark 1 year since her death. It comes ahead of King Charles's state visit next week. They're calling on him to meet with them and other survivors. You're up to date for now. More news for you at 3 o'clock.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Bethany. Remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today. So many have just come in straight after that interview about whether we can send our illegal migrants back to Afghanistan. I'll read some out, don't worry. But yeah, lots of you very angry about that. gbnews.com/your say or scan the QR code on your screens right now. Now, it's our final half hour together. Lots more coming up on today's show. Should women shun marriage? Interesting story. In South Korea, many are rejecting relationships and motherhood over inequality, cost of living and career pressures. Could this trend spread, though? We'll have that debate next, and you really don't want to miss it. All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. High pressure still holding on, giving plenty of sunshine, though it was a bit of a foggy start in places, and there will be some low cloud, particularly across the northeast, but high pressure extending across the UK, keeping weather fronts away from much of the UK, leading to plenty of sunshine as we move through the day ahead, though there is the risk of a few showers and some thicker cloud across parts of Northern Ireland through this afternoon, and some low cloud still affecting northeastern parts of Scotland down into northeast England with a cold northeasterly breeze here, so it will keep temperatures down 11 to 13 degrees, but elsewhere plenty of sunshine, lifting temperatures to around 22, possibly 23 Celsius with light winds. UV levels will be high and pollen levels high to very high for most of us as well. Looking at the evening picture, northern and eastern Scotland rather cloudy, the risk of a little patchy rain, but further west plenty of sunshine. Sunny spells breaking through to end the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England as well, though grey along some eastern coasts, and elsewhere plenty of sunshine. Sunshine perhaps hazy by the end of the day across some western parts of England and Wales. And then overnight what we'll see is the low cloud across parts of the north and the east just sinking further southwards and westwards, moving inland, some higher cloud moving in from the west as well. So it generally means there'll be a mixture of clear spells and the risk of 1 or 2 showers coming into northwest Scotland as well overnight. So towns and cities holding up 4 or 5 degrees in places. Any prolonged clear spells, we could see a touch of frost once more. So a bit more of a mixed start to Sunday. Most of us will be dry. There will be some showery outbreaks of rain pushing eastwards across Scotland through the day. Elsewhere, we'll see some hazy spells of sunshine breaking through at times, and winds will generally stay light. And in that sunshine, temperatures lifting to around 20-21 Celsius.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in, the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages. Because the news is going to happen. So get a head start today. Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition. Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company. So many are getting in touch about the interview we just did with Ivan Sampson, the immigration lawyer, and human rights. Someone just said, I'd just personally send all human rights lawyers to Afghanistan. Bit mean, but I can understand why you think that maybe. OK, now let's talk about marriage and men. Brace yourself. There's a growing anti-marriage movement emerging in South Korea. Last month, a major pop star made headlines when she said, "If I don't want any children, why marry?" A view that is now being echoed by thousands of women. So this afternoon, we're asking, should women be turning away from marriage? Oh, it's going to get feisty, isn't it? Joining me now is a celebrity relationship expert, Nadia Essex, and GB News' very own wonderful Miriam Kate. Good to see you, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, this is obviously happening in Korea, where women are under too much pressure to have careers, and birth rate is falling through the floor. Let's come to you first, Miriam, on this one. I know you are passionate about the fact that we are an ageing population. What do you make of the situation in Korea, and could you see it happening here?
Hi, Dawn. Well, I think the first thing to say is that South Korea is a very different society to here culturally, and you'll see that the birth rate in South Korea is absolutely catastrophically low. I think it's something like 0.7 or 0.8 children for women. It's still about 1.4 here, which is low, but obviously a lot higher. And the problem in South Korea specifically, and many Southeast Asian countries, is that whilst the world has modernized in some ways, so women now get great educations, there's a lot of pressure on them to have great careers, the pressure on them to do everything at home has not changed. So it's a really gendered society. Women are expected to do everything in the home, raise the children, do the domestic chores, be the perfect daughter-in-law, whilst also having a perfect career. And I think that is the problem specifically in South Korea, that women just can't do it all. They don't want to do it all. We don't have that situation here. And in a lot of Northern and Western Europe, society is a lot more equal. Men share a lot more of the domestic chores and the childcare. So we are not like South Korea. It is not that bad. Women and men do not hate each other here like they do in South Korea. Having said that, there are problems. There have been changes. There was a report out in the New Statesman last week showing some polling about young women and how they feel about young men and how they don't understand young men, actually. So we do have problems here. But it is still the case that the vast majority of young women do want to get married and do want to have children. There are problems with how we get to that point, but I think women who hate men are in the very, very tiny minority.
I hate them, couldn't eat a whole one though, mind you. Nadia, let's come to you first on this one, Nadia. OK, we still have a gender pay gap in this country. We still have, every single survey says that women are still responsible for most of the domestic duties in the home and for childcare. What do you make of this?
Well, I also think as well, just to take it to the real extremes, we have to remember that men are women's apex predator. You are more likely to be killed by the man that you marry than any other 8 billion person on this planet. So it's one of those things where it's like it shouldn't be entered too lightly. And I think it's really important that women feel empowered. For the first time in history, we as women no longer rely on men for anything. We don't need them for houses, credit cards, cars, movement in any way. So we're judging men based on their character, and the men are simply falling short. They are just not up to par, which is why I think a lot of people are, especially if you go on social media platforms like TikTok, there is a whole movement of women that are childless and single, and they are just living their best life, and more women are seeing this as aspirational. I think marriage is a wonderful thing. When you find a partner and you fall in love and you want to get married, that's lovely, but I don't think we should be pressuring women to get married, because it can be lethal for some women.
Miriam?
Well, I think that there's a lot to unpack there. Firstly, as a biologist, that's a complete misuse of the word predator. Of course, men do not hunt and eat women, to your point earlier.
Have you seen the Epstein files?
They do.
Have you seen the Epstein files? They absolutely do. They are.
Food chains. I think we should probably park that definition. But actually, women who are married are the least likely to face domestic abuse, less likely than women who are cohabiting and less likely than women who are single. That's not to say that married women don't suffer abuse. Of course they do. Married men also suffer abuse. But actually, statistically, married women are the safest. married mothers are the happiest of all women, according to many, many surveys. So no, of course, marriage isn't perfect. Of course, there are marriages that are difficult. But generally speaking, whilst men may be, in Nadia's word, predatory to women sometimes, they are also women's greatest defenders. And we see that particularly teenage girls are much safer when they live with their father. They're much more likely to be protected from other predatory men. You're shaking your head,
women.
but that's what the statistics say.
No, you're more protected by women. No, you're reading.
Hold on, Nadia, let Miriam finish talking.
In men, all the jobs that men do that are absolutely crucial to society, that we as women would not be safe or able to exist if those men didn't do those jobs for us.
Okay,
but we could do those jobs. We could do those jobs if men didn't.
Front line of a war.
You're saying that you know, we need men to do all these jobs. Yes, because women do all the other jobs that make it possible for men to do those jobs. But we know in the war that if hang on, like we know.
Miriam, let Nadia finish. Let Nadia finish her point.
Thank you. Like what happened in the war when all the men went off to war, the women were left over and we took over all the jobs. So the fact that you're like, oh, we don't need men, we want men, and men are the yin to our yang, and they are important as part of our species. But this whole trying to gloss over what actually is happening, women are fundamentally happier when they decenter men. The people that you look around, they are happier when they're decentering men. We've just seen a case where a woman got run over in London after a nightclub when they were arguing over a man. That wouldn't have happened if they weren't arguing over a man.
What you're doing is taking true stories that nobody denies
be careful with that. It's a live
and
case,
generalising them. And you're generalising. And there, of course, are cases of women who are abused by their partners and husbands, who are hurt by their partners and husbands. Nobody is denying that. But I'd be very interested in what study. But I'm not. I'm being real. And I'm saying that whilst that happens, whilst bad things happen, in general, at the population level, all statistics show that married women are the safest out of all women. I'd be very interested to know which study you're reading that says the opposite to that.
Well, I'll email you once this is over.
But with generalised statistics at the population level? Because I accept all the anecdotes and the stories as true. But
that's
we all
it. Well, then that's it. But lived experience is important as well, and that's the thing. I can't say to somebody that, oh, you know, you should get married because you're more likely to be safer. Because, you know, when 3 women a week are being killed by their partners, I just don't think that stacks up, and I think that's insulting to their families that no longer have those women around because their partners killed them. So I think that, you know, it's not a man-hating mission. It's just like you said, being in the real world. I understand why these women are shunning marriage. I totally get it, because it doesn't benefit them in any way anymore, whereas it used to.
Nadia,
and I think women should be allowed to have that choice.
Yeah, Miriam, quickly.
Do you go in a car, Nadia, ever? Because a lot of people die on the road every year. Do you go in a car?
Yeah. And but I also make sure that I am safe in the car. That's it. I do the best that I can to be safe in the car.
And
of course, I put my seatbelt on, I abide by the speed rules, I be as safe as I possibly can. But other drivers can still kill me, and that is part of life. I still have to do things like school runs and things like that. But when it comes to choosing a man, I don't have to get into a marriage. That's the difference. I have to do a school run. I don't have to marry a man.
Ladies,
you don't. Absolutely.
We have run out of time. A brilliant debate. Thank you both so much. That's relationship expert Nadia Essex and obviously GB News' very own presenter Miriam Cates. Thank you both so much for joining me today. I've got a bit excited in. Let me know what you think about that one. gbnews.com/your say. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Coming up, more than 59,000 runners gear up for the London Marathon tomorrow. So how are they preparing today? We'll be joined by the one and only Mr. Motivator. But before all that, if you are in search of some holiday sun, here's the European forecast for you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A big talking point across southern Europe at the moment is just how warm it is for the time of year across parts of Portugal, Spain and France. We do have some showers affecting the Canary Islands, but it's the showers with that heat in Iberia that are turning heavy and thundery, starting to ease as we go through tomorrow and into next week. Dry for many parts around the central Med, with the showery rain affecting Greece at the moment, clearing away towards the east, and there's more fine, dry, warm weather to come for many as we go into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I think it's true to say that probably more books have been written about Queen Elizabeth II than any other royal, probably more books than any other woman. And I think Hugo Vickers' latest book, 600 pages, which give us a very personal insight into her life. What is there left for Anna Key to tell us, do you think?
Well, I know it's true, but she's going to have the key to the archives. She's going to be able to go through personal letters and thousands of documents that none of us have been able to see. I mean, I know our esteemed colleague Robert Hardman, as well as Hugo, have had some access. And you would think, actually, I thought Robert's was the most authoritative biography there could be, but he didn't have complete access in the way that Anna will. I mean, I don't really envy her the job. I don't know if you do, but it's going to take years, isn't it?
It is. I mean, do we know, did the Queen keep a diary, rather like Queen Victoria did? But most of her papers were destroyed, weren't they? So, I mean, is there going to be a very personal record from the Queen herself that she'll have access to?
I suspect that she will remain in death almost as much of an enigma as she did in life. I understand she did keep a diary, I think pretty religiously, I think most days. But the word is that it was pretty anodyne. It was, you know, I met so-and-so, I did this, not her personal feelings about, I know, meeting President Trump or whatever. So I don't know if we're going to get any great insights, but there will be personal stuff and there will be fascination. I mean, she was just there, wasn't she, for all of us through all of our lives. And if there are any secrets, then we will want to know about them. And I'm sure Anna Key will find them.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company on this lovely, sunny Saturday afternoon. I hope you're having a lovely time out there. Now, the London Marathon does take place tomorrow with temperatures set to hit 20 degrees and runners could be facing that real challenge. So for those taking part in costumes, by the way, it's going to be really tough. I did it once, once, yeah, that was enough, basically. Some 21 years ago now, I was beaten by two men dressed as foam bananas. I'll tell you, I mean, therapy for the rest of my life after that one. In any case, joining me now to talk all things fitness and marathon is the wonderful, the marvellous Mr. Motivator. You haven't, why do you always look the same? You haven't changed in decades. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're too kind,
so
Dawn.
talk to me about the marathon. You've run the marathon, I understand.
Hey, listen, you're joking. I talk like a marathon runner. I can keep talking forever, but when it comes to the marathon, no. You know, I've never enjoyed running.
Right, okay, well, I was thought you'd be running, you know, at the front of the pack and everything. No.
I've done the warm-up for the marathon so many times. Listen, my wife will run forever. But the point is, you never see a happy jogger. As far as I'm concerned, right, when it's over and done with, they are happy as a lark. But during it, they look strained, they look like they're going to have a heart attack. But I applaud everyone who rises to the challenge of doing the marathon, in particular because it brings so much wonderful donations into all these amazing charities. So that is a wonderful goal for most people who do it, but also the challenge of completing it is great. As far as I'm concerned, if it's exercising for 26 miles, I will do it, but not running.
OK, and so what advice would you give to people who are at the moment preparing for that marathon tomorrow?
Okay, well, they should be already prepared. Right now, it's kind of just loading yourself up with lots and lots of carbs. You want some slow release energy, so lots of pasta and stuff like that. But also start focusing on the fact that it's going to be small steps. Don't be in a hurry. You're not trying to beat anyone up. What you're trying to do is actually beat yourself in terms of proving to yourself how you can be extraordinary. Because what's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? That little bit extra. So you're doing that little bit extra. And I think if you focus on that goal line that you're heading towards, and every mile you kind of applaud yourself and tell yourself how well you're doing, it'll make the mileage count down so much easier to bear. But I believe that, you know, it's so great when people actually do something which is of benefit to them, but in so many ways it benefits so many other people.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you so much. You can talk a marathon, that's for sure. Marathon, Mr. Motivator, thank you so much on the marathon. I've been Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. Thank you so much for watching, but don't move, we've got a real treat in Christo Fufas.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Plenty of sunny spells, continuing to be largely dry over the next 24 hours through the rest of the weekend, though generally a bit more cloud around, some weather fronts near the northwest of the UK giving a few splashes of rain, but generally high pressure holding on as we move through the rest of the weekend. Some showers across western parts of Scotland, thicker cloud across northern and eastern Scotland into the evening may just produce 1 or 2 spots of rain. But as we head overnight, it'll be largely dry, some low cloud and fog affecting eastern parts of the UK once more, perhaps not quite as thick as last night. Under the cloud, temperatures falling to around 4 or 5 degrees in places, but any clear spells in the countryside, a touch of frost is possible. So most, it'll be a bit of a mixed start to Sunday morning. The risk of some showery rain across parts of the Highlands and the Islands, but further south and east across Scotland, a dry start with some sunny spells, though some fog patches and low cloud in places too. A mixture of cloud and a few splashes of rain for Northern Ireland, perhaps Northern England as well. A grey start across some eastern parts of England, foggy in places too. Elsewhere, some hazy spells of sunshine. And as we go through the day, I think overall the picture won't change too much. Low cloud across the east should burn back to the North Sea coast. And then there'll be hazy spells of sunshine for the vast majority. So it might not be quite as blue the sky out there on a Sunday compared to today, and further splashes of rain pushing eastwards across northern parts of Scotland. Temperatures overall still well above average for the time of year for most of us, up to around 21 or 22 Celsius. Just still cool where we see some low cloud lingering. We'll also see those showers continuing to move through as we move into the evening on Sunday. And then high pressure looks like it generally stays in charge. Perhaps 1 or 2 showers around on Monday, but temperatures staying well above average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win our biggest prize of the year so far. You could be driving away with your very own 4-berth camper van. This Benny Van 122 could give you the perfect getaway this year. We'll also give you an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash. Lines close on the 1st of May, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. message or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew with me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here, right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hey, welcome to GB News on TV and on your digital radio. I am Christo. Yes, I'm filling in for Nana Akwe. I hope I do her justice for no other reason than I'm a little bit scared of her. Now, for the next few hours, I tried interrupting her once. It was a terrible, terrible decision. Myself and my panel will be taking on some of the big stories of the day, but it's, of course, all about opinion. Mine, theirs, yours, gbnews.com/your say. Now, joining me for the next 3 hours, two familiar Saturday faces. We've got political commentator Aman Bogle and leader of the Climate Party, Ed Gemmell. Hello there, gentlemen. Now, Falkland Islands veterans have hit back at US President Donald Trump after a leaked email from the Pentagon suggests plans to review Britain's claim to the territory as punishment for failing to join the Iran war. Argentina also says it wants to reopen negotiations with the UK over the islands. Is the Prime Minister on the brink? Cabinet ministers are reportedly plotting his exit. Allies of Angela Rayner demand